That's Democrat logic being slipped into code. And
in Utah.
Yeah, in Utah. I represent the portion of the party that wants to see us move past President Adams. If MIDA, even then I wouldn't support it. But let me just say again, I think counties and cities are the only political subdivisions that should exist in the city of Utah. If you think it's a problem, you need to actually address the problem head on, not just reduce the size of the problem. It already blew up in our face with Prop 4, with abortion, with so many different issues. Okay? And it all happened under President Stuart Adams' watch.
Welcome out to God and Country. I'm Uriah Kennedy, and this is Ingrid Bettridge. We have a great guest on with us this week. Everybody should know Braden Hess by now. This is going to be his second time on the podcast. Going up against Stuart Adams in the upcoming primary, June 23rd. Make sure you're paying attention to that date. We definitely want a complete change in leadership in the Senate, and this is how we do it. Like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you're helping us get past the YouTube suppression. It is very, very real. We'll show you examples of it. It is tremendous. And then look down below. Make sure you're picking up our t-shirts and supporting the channel. We're sponsoring them here. We would really, really appreciate the support. This isn't free, and we do not get paid to do this. So any support you guys are willing to grant us, we'd be glad to accept. So moving in with Braden Hess here. This is probably one of the biggest campaigns in the state. I know there's a lot of big ones going on down in Salt Lake. There's a couple in other counties that are pretty critical, but there's only one campaign in this entire race where someone's running up against the Senate President.
Yeah.
Who's been the Senate President for, 8 years now?
Yeah, I think it's 8.
He's been in office for almost 14, 15 years, since 2008, 2009, right?
No, it's 2002.
2002.
Yeah, well, that's when he first got appointed into the House, and then it was something like 2006.
Then he went to Senate?
Went to Senate, something like that.
So he's been in a long time, and it's definitely time for a change in leadership there. But he sets the committees, he sets the positions, he kind of sets all that. We need all that to change, every last bit of it. Braden Hess, or not Braden Hess, but Brooks Benson down in Utah County just got into the primary and made it through the convention. And I had a long conversation with him and a couple other senators there in Utah County, as well as in Salt Lake County. And I don't know if they've spoken with you yet, but they're all scheming behind the scenes, and they're all saying, look, we have a plan.
We could really
make a
difference.
We can change the entire leadership. We've congregated amongst us senators. We know what we're going to vote for. We know how we're going to do this.
Awesome.
He says, there's only one caveat. And I'm like, what is that? He says, Braden's got to win.
No pressure.
Yeah. That's a lot.
No pressure. No pressure. He says we can do a lot of good in this state. We can change a lot of things if we can change the entire leadership. Because it's not just changing the Senate President. It's all the appointees he has, which has become a good old boy network over the past 10 years. And a lot of really good bills are going to the Senate to die. And to really change all that and really put a new perspective here in the state of Utah, we just need a...
Starts at the top.
And what needs to change, too, is nobody talks about the fact that, you and I both know a lot of people. We know a lot of lawmakers, a lot of congressmen, and there's a fear factor there. He holds so much power that they have fear in how they vote. Sometimes they feel like they can't vote their conscience. There's bullying. There's retribution for not voting how he wants. And that's not appropriate up there at our Capitol at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, you should be able to vote your conscience and vote what your constituents want you to vote for or against. But when you're facing the leadership, like what we've got in the Senate and even the House, in some ways, it really people are facing some negative consequences, and their bills die. We've seen that with Trevor and several others. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they try to use it against him politically. His bills don't pass.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yep.
There's a reason why they keep saying everything goes to the Senate to die
But he
right now.
never quits fighting.
Yeah.
I like Stuart Adams. I think he's a great guy, great friend.
He's done a lot of good.
We've lived next to each other for 4 or 5 years. We still say hi to each other. I mean, he's a really good guy. I really do like him. However, we need change. It's time for change in the Senate. And I'm tired of seeing bills that should have passed either get way watered down or just not even make it out of committees. Period. Not even make it out of the committees.
Yeah.
Great bills that start in the House and they just die in the Senate.
Yeah.
And like you just said, that it all starts at the top. And if we can't get the top changed, I don't know what we're going to do, because the entire state, whether you're voting for it or not, the entire state is kind of now dependent on what Davis County does with this specific election. So if you have friends, family members that live in Davis County, particularly on the east side of Davis County, call them, email them, push them, prod them. We need change. We need Senate leadership change for Utah. And it's just, that's what it boils down to. And you know, you're not voting. I'm sure you know people up there in that area, and we just need to push for that right now.
Yes.
And it's kind of going up against the Goliath.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little guy going up against the Goliath because he's got lots of money.
Lots of power.
Lots of power, a lot of donors. He's been in there a very, very long time. He's got a lot of lobbyists that are now in his hip pocket, or he's in theirs, whichever way it works.
Yeah.
That's helping him stay in office for this amount of time, because it's just a long time. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe any politician should be in office that long a time. And we're having massive problems in our U.S. Congress and Senate because of these lifers that get into office and never get out. And that's just not how our founding fathers set up the Constitution. It was supposed to be, you come out of the private district, you come out of the private world
For a couple of terms.
and
you're done.
And then you're done. You get out, right? You put out there what you can bring to the table, what you've learned, the experiences you have, similar to what Trump's doing, 2 terms and he's gone.
Yeah.
But that's just not the way things are run governmentally right now. It's just everybody becomes lifers.
Yeah.
And then even worse, when we're here as voters, the one thing that everybody asks, well, give me your government credentials. How long have you been in government? Like, that's the criteria to order to have another government position is to be in government previously.
Yeah.
And again, that is not how it was set up. You shouldn't have a prerequisite in order for me as a voter to vote for you to have had previous government experience, previous legislative or governorship experience. That's not how it was set up. It was.
Well, I've had so many people that have talked with me about, Braden, you should have started with city council and then gone to be a mayor and then go county and then go state. It's like it's a ladder, you're climbing the rungs. And
Which some good people do, but that's not a prerequisite like Uriah said.
And it's valuable. Like, we need to have local people with local experience in the state legislature. Absolutely. But should it be a requirement? No, absolutely not. I don't look at the levels of government as a ladder. It's more of it's all in the same level. It's just different spheres, right? The federal government has its roles and responsibilities. State governments do as well. And then local governments have their roles and responsibilities. It's just different worlds. It's not a ladder that needs to be climbed.
Where did we get those opinions? When we were at the county convention, we had the moderates coming to me saying, why are you supporting this candidate? They have no political experience. And they believe that that's important to have. You have to have political experience. I'm like, attending your meetings, attending your conventions and being involved, that's political experience. Yeah. You don't have to have held public office in order to hold public office.
It's morals and values that should be doing the judgment call, not whether you've been in office. Because the reason why we have so many government problems is because we pull leadership out of government. We're not pulling leadership out of the private sector. We're not pulling people that have got good business experience, good backgrounds, good moral standing. And then people are even putting a judgment as to what your leadership experience or your religious experience is.
Yeah.
and judging you for your belief in God or what religion you're supporting. I'm like, that none of that is precursors to this. If you have a belief in God, shouldn't matter what religion you're in, period. You just long you have that higher power, and you should be not looking at government to solve more government. It should not be this person's transferring from this government position to this other government position. That's just not how government should be run, because it makes it to where the state's more important than anything. And I made this point last week with Doug Fiafia, made it the week before that with the county commissioners. If you start making it so where government is more important, it ceases to become we the people.
Yeah.
We the people govern ourselves. It is not government officials moving from position to position governing us.
Yeah.
We govern ourselves. And so if you're not pulling leadership from the people, it's not we the people governing. If you're pulling the position from government, then it's government running government.
Yeah.
Great point.
Get out of that. Start voting for people that are we the people, grounded, coming in with a different perspective on everything, different point of view, maybe a not skewed, not tainted, not been pushed around by lobbyists or special interests. Or
And somebody who's not looking to enrich themselves.
fellow constituents pushing around, not looking for a leg up money-wise, right?
Well, that's I think that's why so many people love to see Donald Trump the first time around, and obviously the second time around as well, is he was not a creature of the swamp. They wanted something completely new, a fresh set of ideas, and that's what he brought. That's what people like myself were running, not because we have decades of experience being the Senate president or even being a mayor. It's that we've got these ideas, these experiences we've had. We represent principles. That's the most important. Morals and principles, just like you were saying. Those are the things that we take to the Hill.
And not saying that Stuart Adams doesn't have morals or principles, but
No. Yeah.
you get tainted. It just happens over 20 years of being in government. It's going to happen. You're going to have a lot of friends and their lobbyists, a lot of fellow constituents out there you've been good old boy networking with for the past 15 years.
Yeah.
And you tend to pay attention to your friends and ignore everybody else, which is why bills are dying in the Senate. You tend to have your own set of goals and prerogatives and things that you want to see have done, and then that becomes your primary and only focus, and so everything else gets drowned out. You tend to look at everybody else and say, well, your opinion is not important, you haven't been here long enough, you don't have the experience, and start looking at your fellow constituents in the same way that the voters should not be looking at leadership with, which is trying to put government positions into more government positions.
Yeah.
When it should be, we the people govern ourselves.
Yep.
We're sovereign. I mean, we are sovereign, and it's not government. I don't know why that's such a huge thing, because...
So as well, particularly with the state government, they can run as many bills as they want, right? They can file them. Doesn't mean they see the light of day or that they get passed, but when you're first elected as a state representative or senator, you've got a list of ideas that you want to have passed. They run those for the first, 5-6 years. After that, you're really running a lot of other people's ideas because your ideas have already seen their chance. And not that you should give up on them, but it's more of you get the executive branch approaching you, you get lobbyists approaching you, and you're taking ideas from other people, constituents as well, which is really important. But any legislator can do that. You don't need to have somebody in there for 20 years to be able to run a bill for the executive branch. What we need is new blood. We need new energy, new perspective, not the same perspective every single year, every term. Yeah.
They get locked into it.
Yeah.
And government is where I'm literally going and I'm plucking my neighbor and I'm putting him up here into this position. Guess what? You're going to run things. That's what we the people means, is I'm doing that. It's not where I'm trying to find some high-standing individual that's got billions of dollars in his bank account or millions of dollars and been in government forever, and plucking that person saying, okay, we're going to put this high-minded person up into another high-minded position.
Yeah.
Government is supposed to be more humble than that. It's literally I'm picking my nobody
Just
neighbor.
like a jury. It's of your peers, right?
Your
It's
peers.
you select them out of the populace.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it should be. That is we the people.
Yeah.
And we as the United States, we've gone away from that tremendously. And that's why we're in the problems we're having. That's why government goes nowhere and gets nothing done, because we leave these same people in office over and over and over again. Nothing gets freshened up. There's no new ideas. And then it becomes a position where they are no longer doing anything to help the people. All they're doing is, how do I keep the position? How do I stay in office?
And make myself even more powerful. I'm not saying Stuart Adams is doing that necessarily, but you see that especially on the federal level.
But it happens.
Absolutely it does. On the federal level, they change the rules for how legislation actually gets enacted. And so one individual in the legislature can stop the idea. That's happening all the time in the state as well.
Yep. Well, it's particularly because he's the president. He stops things all the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, tremendous bills, and he just stops. Well, it's not my goal right now. It's not what I want to see pushed out there. I got certain things that I want to get done, and all becomes about, I'm the most important individual up here because I've been in office for 10, 15 years, and you could be the most kind-hearted, nicest guy outside of that office, but when you've been in an office, you've been under power for that long, it changes you.
And what's awful too is these bills, they don't get to the floor and then they have a debate about it and then it dies because the Senate President used his power and influence. It's usually behind the scenes. It's, I don't like this bill. I'm not even going to have it read on the Senate floor. Like, it just doesn't see the light of day at all. And then there's no conversation about it. The people don't know what happened to the bill. It just
well, I don't know how many times I've heard, and this is Stuart Adams, where I hear that they tell me, you put this bill forward or you vote for this bill, you will never get another single one of your bills passed.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's not how I want the government representing me to run.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, and that's just downright evil, right? It's where you purposely put people down because you're not promoting what I want to have promoted, my ideas. And I'm just going to crush you in the Senate. You're a newbie. I can do whatever I want.
And then it's just the chain, because then I see a news article saying, accused of this. He's never, covering the trail of it. I'm thinking, why do you, as a newspaper, care so much about backing something that I know to be false?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the whole reason why we're saying this is it's just time. Senate leadership, the entire leadership, not just the president, the entire leadership in the Utah Senate needs to just have a change. Just needs to have a shake-up, needs to have a change, because nothing's getting done right now. And we have the people that are getting in office that can do that. I mean, we've got people like Doug Fiafia. We got people like Braden Hess. People like Brooks Benson. People like Brooks Benson and others, and Heidi Baldery and all these others that are willing to shake that up.
Yeah.
But
But it takes multiple. You can't just have one senator.
You got to take the president
out. Changes everything.
Because the president appoints everything.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the power of the president of the Senate, is they get to start.
Why aren't we voting a new Senate president every term?
So, I mean,
they do.
Yeah.
Oh, he just wins. He wins class president every year.
Yeah, I mean, the same people are getting reelected every time, so it's just it's a stale culture.
Yeah, they do vote for that every.
I think it's every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But without getting the good old boys out, you're not going to have that changeover.
No.
So what are the feelers out there? Do you have a sense? I'm always fearful of answering the polls. I have a text for a poll almost every time, but without knowing, I will look at who it says it's coming from and then try to look who's behind that. But if I can't tell, I'm afraid to answer it.
Well, and the thing is that these polls that are being sent out are so skewed. I mean, I've seen several of them where it's like the poll is really trying to persuade the person to the first question is who are you leaning toward voting for? Mm-hmm. And then depending on who you answer, if you answer the right one, then they support your decision making. If you're voting for myself or the other candidate, they're trying to persuade you into voting for the other candidate. It's not like a true poll. It's more of just a.
So there's no good polls out there.
Well, not no good polls. You really have to dig into the data to find out what questions are being asked and how those questions are being asked. And it's tough to know. Because
then I worry, well, by not answering it, I'm not letting candidates get a feel of where the public's at.
Yeah, it's true. Many times it's that candidates that's funding the poll, though. So
So where do you get your feelers from? On your door knocking? On your talking with constituents?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I reach out to every registered Republican, and I'm talking with as many as I possibly can. So I'm able to tally. This one supported me. This one supported Adams, Hollis. I'm able to kind of gauge where people are sitting.
Now, I think the viewers need to know, though, who won the nomination from the county convention.
So we were in the state
From the
convention.
state convention.
Yeah, we were in the state convention. There were 4 of us originally. The first round, Jennifer Garner was eliminated, and then the second round, Stephanie Hollis was eliminated, and in the final round, Stuart and I both made it onto the primary ballot through convention.
Because
I ended up
they had
with
the majority.
Yeah.
So
I
then
ended
where
up
does
with
Stephanie
45.
Hollis come into this if she was eliminated?
She came in via signatures, unfortunately. Yeah. So I even had a person come and knock my door asking for signatures for, and he had 7 candidates packets he was gathering for. He goes, "Would you be willing to sign for Stephanie Hollis, Lorraine Kamalu, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, hold on. Actually, before that, he didn't even pronounce her name correctly.
No, because they're
They have
just
no
a
idea.
hired company, right?
He was out of Nevada, came by, couldn't even pronounce her name correctly. I said, "Do you know anything about her?" He goes, No, just gathering signatures. You're not actually like voting for her. You're just getting her on the ballot.
Yeah.
So you don't need to do your homework now. You can do your homework later. That's always what I hear. And it's absurd because that's literally the first filter is getting onto the primary ballot. You have to meet
People
certain
gotta
standards.
open their minds. Is that how government works? Some guy from another state comes to your door and asks you to sign a signature ballot? That's not how it works.
No. It's
Well,
insane.
there was that whole problem between the Lyman and Cox thing with that company down in St. George that was collecting all the signatures.
Yeah.
And then they found out half those signatures were fraudulent, that a lot of the people that are out there collecting the signatures that were employed by that were signing it themselves. And there's pages and pages and pages of where they just signed it themselves.
Yeah.
And then
True
McKinsey
story.
Davis
Certified them.
certified them, which is why we want Jonna Whiteside's in there, not McKinsey. For everybody again in Davis County, vote for Jonna, not McKinsey, because Davis County again affects the entire state because Davis County is contracted to count
The whole
election
state. Yeah.
for the whole state.
Yeah. The statewide races. I
The
believe.
statewide races are all counted by
Davis County Clerk's Office.
Davis County Clerk's Office, and McKinsey's in a hip pocket with Cox and with Stewart, with others, and he'll certify stuff that should not be certified. So
Yeah.
those are pretty big issues. But that you're very, very right that we have a lot of people just signing away stuff,
Not doing their homework.
not doing their homework.
And you can expect that of the general populace. That's why the caucus convention system is superior in every way. Is
get
you
rid of
pick
that.
the neighbor who has the time and is willing to put in the effort to actually vet the candidates. If you're asking the general populace before you narrow down the field, they don't have time to research 10 different candidates like what we had when this, what was it last time when John Curtis was running for the Senate? We had so many candidates. They don't have time to research all those candidates, the general populace. But a delegate does. They actually get to meet and talk with these candidates. Many times, the vast majority of the time, actually, I was in their living room talking with them. They were asking me questions, and we could actually get to the nitty and gritty. But
Well, I'm laughing because as a precinct chair, I discussed that in our precinct, in our caucus meeting, and what a good portion of the delegates in there said, we know where to look for information. I said, where are you looking for that information? They said, on the internet, and we get the flyers and we read them. And I'm like, oy vey.
yeah, no. You can make yourself sound really good on a flyer.
Yeah.
And very vague. And so
And
everybody,
on the
it sounds
internet.
great. And
I looked on the internet.
Stephanie's
Must be
doing,
true.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie's doing a great job of that. She's saying such vague things about herself, like, I'm for limited government. We need good government, transparency. It's like, all those things are fantastic. Everyone says they want those. Candidates all the time say that they're going to be transparent. But then lots of times candidates get in office and then what happens? They're not. So you actually need to do the digging yourself, or better yet, elect a delegate to do the homework for you. And then they actually dig and have individual conversations with these candidates. It's amazing.
Well, SB 54 is an abomination to this state.
Yeah.
And another reason why Stewart and other good old boys need to go, because they will never bring to the floor a repeal of SB 54. That will never, ever, ever happen with them in leadership.
No.
And that is by far the number one thing that does need to get done is SB 54 needs to go the way of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And just be done with it, because it's corrupting the state, is bringing where money corrupts everything. Money rules everything. The big budgets get into office, and it's not the little guys that actually have better ideas, better morals, better values, are not tainted again by lobbyists, not tainted by special interests, that get into office, and they have that cutoff, right? It cuts off those links. It forces the lobbyists and special interests to try to create new relationships, but by the time they create those relationships, then you cut it off and you get somebody else into office, and you keep that cut off, and then they don't have the power and the effect. But when you've been in office for 20 years, as a lobbyist or special interest, you've had a lot of time to literally cultivate people in office, and swing them your direction. That's the problem.
And a good statesman you can listen to the special interests because you want to hear their perspective for whatever their industry.
Yeah.
But they're a good critical thinker who takes that information and saying, okay, is what that special interest group telling me enriching them or the citizens? Is that helping the state? Is that helping the people I represent? And you take that information, and you're a great critical thinker because of the morals and values you have. And that's why it's important to know the morals and values of a candidate.
And you haven't been in office long enough to get tainted by it.
Yeah, not at all. So, in fact, I worked for the legislature and saw a lot of this stuff going on, and I became concerned.
Well, I want you to go into depth into that, because people really don't understand how bad some of these bills are written, because you mentioned this multiple times.
Neither do the legislators that are running them in some cases, honestly.
So let's start from square one here. So when you're a House rep or a Senate rep or senator or a member of the House of Representatives, there is a big building out behind the Capitol building where all these attorneys sit in, and they're supposed to be non-biased. Yeah, they're supposed to be, but they are. You can't be a human being and not have some bias anyway.
Yeah.
And so the House, as well as the Senate legislators, send bills over there, and these attorneys write them.
Yeah.
And then the attorneys write them, and they come back, and then you guys review them and supposedly say, okay, I want this change, that change. Or they'll ask you questions, and a lot of them will get detailed questions. Well, do you really want it to say this? Or you can have a loophole here. And some of the attorneys are really good at helping legislators write bills. But it's not the legislator writing the bill. It's this group of attorneys.
Because it's the attorney's job to put your thoughts on paper
It's their job.
in legalese and make sure it's written legally.
Within the code,
And let you know if you say it like this, that's affecting this. That's not what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
But
So
it's
it's
still
their
supposed
job.
to be you running the show.
Yeah, so the first step is the legislator has an idea, or in some cases, a constituent or a lobbyist has an idea. But the legislator takes that idea to the LRGC, Legislative Research and General Counsel. They open up a bill file for that idea. The attorney usually talks with the legislator first and says, what exactly are you wanting with this? Do you want me to talk with other groups, the appropriate executive branch or lobbyists? Who do you want me to talk with about this? Or no one. And then they receive the instructions, draft a first draft, then they oftentimes will show it to the legislator. The good legislators will read the legislation, say, that's exactly what I want, or no, not even close, let's change some things. In the worst cases that I've had, a legislator
Well, before you get into that, so you have this building full of attorneys to write to the LRGC.
Yeah.
You were an LRGC attorney, so
Yep.
I want to make sure everybody understands that. He was one of these attorneys in that back building writing bills. So with that, let's go through your experience back there.
Yeah. So some of the worst cases, though, is when a legislator brings an idea from a lobbyist or an interest group, and they say, draft this bill, and you just work with the lobbyist. And the legislator takes a back seat and then just kind of like waits until everything's finished being drafted, and they say, tell me about my bill. And then they go and present it in a committee sometimes.
Tell me about my bill.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have any participation in
Will
the
it
process.
get me reelected?
Honestly. They don't have any participation until it's
So
to the point where it's being
you
voted on.
as an attorney back there, literally had this happen where
Several times, not just once.
here's a lobbyist, do whatever they say.
Yeah. Oh, happens all the time. Don't get me wrong. There are some really good legislators up there. They do their homework. They read the bills. They know exactly what it is, and they're the ones orchestrating things. But there are plenty of legislators that don't. And then aside from that process having its flaws, well, let me tell you, LRGC, there are plenty of people in there that are really good people. They've got their head on straight. There are also people in there, frankly, a majority, in my opinion, are Democrats. They're nonpartisan, right? But they're Democrats providing constitutional legal guidance to our majority Republican legislators. And then these legislators oftentimes are just taking that advice as though it's the law, and it's just not the case. It's Democrats advising them. And I'm not saying every single person in the LRGC is out there to get the people of Utah, stick it to them. But I believe that when people have their morals, it's so core to their very being, whether they mean to or not, those ideas are being given in such a way that it slips into law.
Yeah.
So I would rather see the LRGC split into majority and minority parties. That way, if you're a legislator, you know you've got a Republican lawyer or policy analyst who thinks the way that you do. And then you have their opinion. You can also get an opinion from other people. I'm not saying it has to be black or white. I'm just saying it's you need to know where that information is coming from, whether it's somebody that agrees with you or somebody that's trying to persuade you otherwise.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. If I was a legislator, I'd go up and ask the attorney, are you registered?
What are you? They can't register. Isn't that
they can't
absurd?
register.
No. When I got hired, I had to sign a document saying that I would not register with a political party.
Huh.
What political
Violates
party
the First Amendment.
were
Did
you
you?
registered up until this point? Because I want to know, because if you're a Democrat, you're not writing my bill.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, it's absurd, honestly. We should allow everyone to register with whatever party they want. It's the First Amendment. You have a right to free speech, freedom of assembly. You can associate with whoever you want. It should not be the government's job to say you can't register with the Republican Party.
Is that a norm in most states?
I don't know about other states.
But you can't take the opinion out of people. It's just, I don't care if you're registered to vote or not. You're not taking the opinion out of them. You're not going to take their leanings. You're not going to take their upbringing out of it.
Yeah.
It's all going to seep into the bill.
Yeah.
And if you as a legislator don't know which way that attorney's leaning, what is it? And particularly if you've been in the legislature for so long that you're just letting lobbyists do everything for you, and you're just like, yeah, just let them write it and I'll put it on the floor, right?
Yeah.
That becomes that good old boy network. I've been in office for way too long. I'm now in the lobbyist hip pocket instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to have changeover. You have to have changeover. Everybody, you have to have changeover. That's government doesn't work if you've been in office for 20 plus years.
Can I give you an
How are
example?
those attorneys selected to serve in that capacity?
Well, so the head of the office, his name is John Cannon. He's over all the policy analysts and the attorneys, over the entire office. He's the director. And then there's a director over the attorneys and one over the policy analysts. The one over the attorneys, her name is Victoria Ashby. Again, great people. They're very kind people, but they are approved by the legislature themselves. Okay. So John Cannon's name, Victoria Ashby's name they were presented to the House and the Senate and approved by everyone, and then they hire the managing and associate attorneys.
So coming from a formerly staunch red state that we used to be, I can see how it would benefit Democrats to be like, we need as many liberal attorneys as we can get, progressives applying for this.
Well,
So we can affect law.
and even if they're not doing it on purpose, liberals or Democrats tend to like being around Democrats. Republicans like being around Republicans. So if we're hiring the top of the office and they like a particular type of person, particular type of culture, of course, when they interview somebody, they're gonna be like, oh, I like that person. Well, yeah, because you agree with them on your morals and on your politics. Whether
Well,
they
not
mean
only
to or
that,
not.
but all these people are coming from our already skewed higher education universities.
Yes.
And our universities are already just way left. And I'm sure a lot of these attorneys are coming from Yale and Harvard and all these other different law
Or
schools.
even BYU and the U. They're more
yeah.
more Democrat than you think they are. Both of them.
Yeah, both of them. So you're getting these heavily leftist university graduates going and writing bills are supposed to be conservative when they've been indoctrinated for the past 4, 5, 6 years at the local university in their law degree.
Yeah.
And you really don't think that's not going to seep into legislation at all?
Well, I'll give you the example.
That's horrible.
They
to have
viewed this as appropriate. Okay. So they were slipping in bills. They were changing the term inmate, right? Everybody knows what an inmate is. Okay. They changed the term inmate to incarcerated individual because inmate is offensive. It's not appropriate language. Absolutely absurd.
How stupid.
So without actually talking with legislators about it and bringing it forth, being forthcoming with it, they're in charge of the code, cleaning up the code. So they're going to clean up language like they. Another, in my opinion, less harmful example is much of the code previously. It's got gender pronouns, right? All of it was he, him, his. So they're like, well, criminals or any citizen can be a woman too. So let's change it from the code saying it's a him to let's just have it be it's applicable to any person, right? But an inmate, that's genderless, right? You don't need to change that term unless you have a political opinion that makes you think that the term inmate is offensive. And so they changed it to incarcerated individual. That's Democrat logic being slipped into code. And
In Utah.
Yeah, in Utah.
In Utah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the bill they just passed up in Oregon that they just changed the gender identity for adoption and for mothers. So you can no longer say mother or father on any state paperwork.
Yes. What do they say?
It's-
Guardian? Parent?
No, it's not. It's worse.
It's worse.
Gestational individual or non-gestational individual. That's the term they have up there now. That is gestational individual or non-gestational individual.
Yeah. I would like to say I'm surprised, but
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
no.
and that could seep down to Utah very, very easily if
Oh, yeah.
we're not careful.
Yeah.
So again, that's where the turnover needs to happen.
Language matters. People don't think it does, but you change it in the code. That's what lawyers use in courtrooms. That's what everybody starts to hear and gets passed around. And then sooner than later, the definition gets changed.
Well, going back to David versus Goliath here,
Yeah.
Stuart Adams has got a very, very fun ad out there, and I want to kind of break down this ad because it's
Right.
everywhere over Instagram. It's everywhere. And I'm sure many of you have seen this ad, so we're going to walk through it and break it down here.
He once negotiated a trade agreement during a lion attack. Archaeologists still debate whether he discovered the pyramid or built it. Saudi princes want to be him for Halloween. He once made a mistake just to see what it felt like. He is the most made-up man in the world. This absurdly false version of Stuart Adams was created by DC dark money groups in support of their candidate, liberal DEI attorney Stephanie Hollist, Stuart Adams' opponent. The question Republican primary voters should ask is, why are liberal East Coast dark money groups so determined to unseat Stuart Adams? Because he's the most conservative Senate president in the country. He ended DEI at state institutions, passed $1.5 billion in tax cuts, banned men from girls' sports, and secured the future of Hill Air Force Base. The real Stuart Adams may just be the most effective Senate president in the world. Paid for by Stuart Adams for Senate.
Can we debunk some of these debunks?
So we're going to walk through this one at a time here. So just because it passed while you were in leadership doesn't mean you did it. And he didn't do any of those.
Well, it's convenient, right? It's when a good bill passes, he claims credit because he's the Senate president. But when a good bill dies in the Senate, he's like, oh, it wasn't my fault. Or when he confirmed judges that shouldn't have seen the light of day and they kept Prop 4 on the record, he's like, oh, that's not my fault. That's not me. So it's convenient when it's DEI and it's keeping men out of women's sports.
Well, I think
He's
it's
like,
funny how he
me.
mentions
That's
Stephanie
mine.
Hollist in there and doesn't even mention you at all.
I know, yeah.
Because she's not the real competition in this thing. Everybody knows that she's not the real competition. She's either going to split your vote or she's going to split his vote.
But she is responsible for the ads
Yeah.
but she
against
is-
him.
So she's been really attacking.
She
Stuart
has a
and
lot of
bringing up
money,
all the
and
scandals.
he is right. She is the DEI candidate,
Oh, 100%.
and that's where her money comes from. Her money comes from progressives and all the big dark money.
Yeah, well, she's being quietly supported by Becky Edwards and that very moderate portion of our party.
Yeah,
So
she
it's
needs
not
to
surprising.
drop out, but she won't because she's got all the support from
Well, she's got a lot of money too.
the dark left.
I think she put in $100,000 of her own money into her campaign account right at the very beginning. So she's got money, she's got time, and she's willing to try to really hope that people don't do their homework and find out who she is and what she represents, because she's a nice person.
Yeah.
But nice people don't make good policy.
You and I both agreed before the podcast that granted, we both would prefer Stuart Adams before her.
Yes.
She should not be anywhere near this election.
Yes.
We both agree that it's either you or Stuart. She shouldn't be anywhere near this, and she should drop
Absolutely.
out, but she's not going to.
Yep.
However, we still need new leadership in the Senate, so we're caveating that. But we want to break this ad down a little bit to kind of show what really happens up in the Utah Senate. So
Negotiated a trade agreement during a lion attack. Archaeologists still debate whether he discovered the pyramid or built it. Saudi princes want to be him for Halloween.
So these are all things that she put out there to kind of discredit him. Okay, yeah, granted, those are fake.
Yeah.
But he is the one Senate guy that's done more trips to China than anybody.
Yes. He went to Ukraine as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and why does a state president need to go to any of those places?
That's a
No
really
idea.
good
Apparently,
question.
we have a sister city in China.
We
That's what he
do.
says. I
But
don't
isn't
want-
that a state sister city?
I have no idea. I don't want to be compared to any city in China. We are not China. We should not say
I've
that we are
mentioned on a
related to them at
previous
all.
podcast that when I moved to Utah in the Pioneer Day Parade,
Yeah.
they always have, like, it's towards the end, they'll have the little trolley with all these Chinese citizens waving their flag, and they say, this is from our sister city. And I always wondered, what's a sister city? What's the purpose? I mean, and I love the Chinese people. My father
absolutely.
lived in China for many years, so I'd see him and go, I love the Chinese people. Hi. But I don't understand why we have a sister city and what that means.
No, I don't. When we're comparing government to government, we should not be saying that we're on the same
No,
playing field. We're
not
related.
even remotely close.
Yeah. No.
Because everybody knows I was an importer for years and years. I made a lot of money importing stuff. And I work with a lot of Chinese people. There are a lot of factories over there. I've imported, I don't know, $100 million in product from China. The Chinese people, the factories I've worked with, the individuals are just warm-hearted, great people.
Fantastic.
Incredibly honest people. If I had any problems, they're bending over backwards to help me fix it. Just very, very hardworking people. But I did nothing if it involved the CCP. The second you start getting up to that level, you just got to, nope, I'm out.
Yep.
And there was a couple instances where I had a couple of factories that were owned and operated by the CCP, and I'm like, nope, I'm out. That's where you draw the line. And
Yeah.
the problem is
Have
we've
to.
got government officials that are not drawing the line there.
No.
It's one thing to work with the people. It's another thing to work with the government. And sadly, that's what we're seeing here is trying to build some kind of camaraderie there. Now, Trump has an obligation to work with them because that's foreign policy is
Yeah. Federal
his-
government's job.
is their job. He has
100%.
to. He's got to figure that out. He's got to figure out trade relations, tariffs, all that kind of stuff.
Senate President for the state of Utah.
Senate President of the state of Utah?
Not his job. Not even close.
Not even close. I mean, what is that? I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. Let's keep going.
Okay.
He once made a mistake just to see what it felt like. He is the most made-up man in the world. This absurdly false version of Stuart Adams was created by DC dark money groups in support of their candidate, liberal DEI attorney Stephanie Hollis.
Again, that part's true because
She is.
we don't want her in.
Yes.
I like how they put George Soros up there and
Yeah.
paints that picture, but
Well, I mean, she is coming from the left side of our party, probably even on the other side of the line.
I
let's
was
be
going to say
honest.
the other side of the line.
Yeah. So it's not a stretch of the imagination that those kind of people would be supporting her to replace him. But let's be real here. That the real race is between him and I because we represent the true conservative values. And I'm not saying
No
that
one's
I'm
gonna
Stuart
vote for
Adams,
her.
but it's the people who are going to be voting for her are the people who don't mind the George Soroses of the world.
yeah.
It really boils down to him and I, and Stuart's even mentioned that to me. It's whether or not people are okay with the status quo with him, or if they want change, and they take me. When they're considering Stephanie Hollis, it's really because they don't agree with the Republican Party platform. She doesn't.
Well, every Democrat in Davis County is going to be voting for her.
Yep.
Every single one of them.
Yep.
All those Democrats that registered as Republicans when John Huntsman and
Did
Jim
she get
Dubakis-
endorsed by the Democratic Party like some of the others did?
No, so the Democrats have a.
Oh, they do have an
candidate in
actual.
the
Oh, that
race.
surprises me.
I don't actually know who it is, but
'Cause I think
do. And then there's
she's
this
a good one
third
for them.
party candidate. He's a constitutional party.
Oh,
Yep. So
Anyway, all right, keep going.
Stuart Adams' opponent. The question Republican primary voters should ask is, Why are liberal East Coast dark money groups so determined to unseat Stuart Adams? Because he's the most conservative Senate president in the country.
I have a big problem with that
I
statement.
know. The trouble is he's been in for so long that he still thinks he represents the most conservative portion of the party.
He's conservative. We're not mocking that. He
definitely.
is not the most conservative, because there's been some incredibly conservative, very worthwhile, should have passed bills
that died.
Just don't see the light of day. I mean, the stuff that Trevor Lee's putting forward, Heidi Baldry won't say it out in public, but she's told me about a few bills that she's put out there and that just don't get going. There's a lot of things that happen.
I think we heard Tiara Oxier at the last event we went to. She said that she's had some bills die in the Senate.
At the Morgan County event, put stuff that just
well, according to moderates, that makes them bad candidates. If you can't get a bill past Stuart Adams, it makes you a bad
even
candidate.
last week with Doug Fiafia, he put forth some bills that he says that didn't get past the Senate.
Yep.
Within the Republican Party in Davis County, Stuart Adams is considered a moderate. And those moderate constituents are backing him, and that's because he plays the middle of the road. He's not conservative enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, again, I love the guy, but he's not conservative enough. He's just... So that whole statement there, the most conservative Senate president is, yeah.
And when you look at this video, it tells me that he thinks that everyone is out there to get him because we're being backed by the left. I'll tell you right now, not even close for me. Stephanie, I wouldn't put it past her. But for myself, I represent the portion of the party that wants to see us move past President Adams. Again, he's done a lot of really great things. I really mean it. He's done some great things. But 20 years is plenty of time to get what you want to done. Let the next generation be represented.
We've talked about how the older generation has kind of gotten this mindset, and they all kind of think alike, the whole
old
high
guard.
priest and the elders quorum separation. And we really just need young blood up there. We need a younger
especially in the
thought
Senate
process instead of the status quo.
Yep. Yes, especially in the Senate. The House, it's more reflective of the populace, right? They're constantly changing every 2 years. The Senate, it's more stagnant. And the culture there is stagnant too.
It's not just more stagnant. It is like petrifying up there. I mean, you could start getting petroglyphs up there in the Senate. It's pretty bad.
Yes.
We really need some young blood up there.
Yes. I agree.
But I find it interesting how because this is his ad, paid for by Stuart Adams, his ad.
Yeah.
How, again, you're not even in it. He only compares himself to her because she's the most extreme. And if he doesn't put you in the picture, then that gives people more likelihood of voting for him, right?
Yeah.
If you're not in the picture, he gets the vote because no one's going to vote for her.
Yeah.
If he would put you in there, then there would have been some conflict. And then people, well, what's the difference between Stuart and Braden? But he's not even going to mention you. Why? Because he doesn't want to give you any.
Well, and Stephanie's completely ignored me entirely, and that's fine. I don't really care. Stuart Adams, he's a human being, and I've noticed. I mean, don't get me wrong. There have been some things that have been brought up about his family, and I don't want to talk about that in here, but like he gets defensive, rightfully so in some cases. So this ad tells me. He's reacting to the attacks that she's laid against him because she's punching below the belt, in my opinion. Not that you shouldn't have what you're doing brought to the light of day, everything under the rock revealed, but it's just a matter of there are some things you should not be attacking in a race like this, and he's on defensive.
He's on defense.
Well,
and he's not mentioning me because she's the one hurling the
I'm not
insults and attacks.
disagreeing with that, but... And I'm not defending her antics, but, when you have a good percentage of the constituents that don't know about that because whatever connections he has with the media that quickly swept that under the rug and cleaned that up when it was an issue.
Yeah.
Fairly she's bringing it up so people will hopefully dig and look and see how they feel about
Well,
that.
she's got her own, too. Frankly, her time at Weber State wasn't a clean record.
She's not currently still there?
No. So when the president of Weber State left to go to Utah State University, she left, and now she's working as in-house counsel with, I think, a construction company. And she says it had nothing to do with the huge uproar that happened with the DEI stuff at Weber State. It absolutely did.
Because I do
wanted
see
to-
a lot of the employees from Weber State who tend to vote very progressive and liberal, and left are
Like any other
supporting
university
her.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they really want to back her.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
He ended DEI at state institutions, passed $1.5 billion in tax cuts, banned men from girls' sports.
That was
All right,
Trevor.
that's
That was Carrie Ann.
3 things there.
But he allowed it to pass, so he championed it, right?
Ban DEI, tax cuts, stopped girls from being in, or boys from being in girls' bathrooms. None of which
Were his bills.
are not even close to being his bills.
Yeah.
Those were all House bills
Yeah.
that eventually made it up and got extremely watered down and passed at the levels they are. Because even the girls and boys bathroom bill, they were taking that a lot further in the House, and it got watered down in the Senate underneath his watch. The tax bill, I think they had a lot of support, but still,
Yeah, not his bill. I would say he can take a lot of credit for
on
the
the
tax
tax
cuts.
bill.
Even
like
then,
Moore's
though.
taking credit for the tax cuts.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. But like the tax cuts, they've been small over the last, I think, 7 sessions. We've got a governor right now who's willing to get rid of the income tax. What's the holdup? As well as Social Security. It's still being taxed. He doesn't want to mention that. He's like, yeah, I'm in charge of these tax cuts. Well, I've got seniors that are constantly telling me, why am I getting taxed on my Social Security income? It's fixed. It's
I mean, the
not.
Fed stopped doing it. Why doesn't the state stop doing it?
Yeah. We're one of like 8 states in the country that still taxes Social Security, and yet the Senate President doesn't take credit for that. He only takes credit for the tax cuts that happened with the income tax. So it's convenient, and yes, I think he can take a lot of credit for those tax cuts, but they're not enough, and Social Security is still being taxed.
Well, not only that, but he makes them really small, and so he
Yes.
can parse them out and do more next year.
I've cut the last 7 sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he could have done all of that in one session,
Yeah.
honestly, but he doesn't. I think he kind of calculates out and says, well, if I do a little this session, a little next session, then gives me a little more notoriety.
Yeah.
so that
It
I
sounds
can
good.
get
Sounds
reelected.
good.
Sounds
Sounds get
good.
reelected.
Yeah, he says, I cut taxes. I cut them again. That's what he does.
You're the Senate President. You could have gotten all that done
Years ago.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are you piecemealing it?
Yep. Political tactics.
It's so political taxes. People are going to say, no, it's not political taxes. He doesn't have the votes. I'm like, no. He's the Senate President. If he says something, he will get the vote.
And if you want to stay in power for as long as he has, you have to. Frankly, you have to make these antics. You have to make it sound good in order for you to continue to get reelected for 5-6 terms.
Yeah. And then this whole DEI thing, that also started in the House.
Yeah.
Stephen Grisha's talked about it. She put that bill out there and a few others. And so even that was going to go a lot further, particularly in the universities. I mean, they did pass that whole 10% cut. They were forcing universities to cut their budgets by 10%, hopefully to force DEI out. Mm-hmm. But it was going to specifically target DEI, the original bill, and force them to take DEI out. It wasn't going to be a hint through this 10% reduction. Mm-hmm. And that got watered down in the Senate where it wasn't a blatant.
Yeah.
The House wanted a blatant, no, you're taking it out.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So,
Yeah.
again, a lot of credit. And then this next one,
And secured the future of Hill Air Force Base.
secure the future Hill Air Force Base.
With MIDA is probably what it
With
referencing
MIDA.
there. And I think
MIDA is
also-
the biggest problem we have in the state right now. I mean, the whole
it's the hottest issue for sure.
issue right now.
Yeah. I am of the opinion the only political subdivisions of the state that we need are counties and cities. We don't need any of these extra governmental entities like MIDA or PIDs, HTRZs. They got to go.
Yeah, we talked about PIDs last week with Fifi, and I don't know why that got through. But
No,
then
it's
again,
crazy. These rich legislators don't have time to read the bills. That's what happens.
well, these good old boys have been in there for 20 years. They put together stuff like PIDs to benefit their donors, which are these. Nothing wrong with these big developers because developers are good, but developers are going to push and see what they can get, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get as much as they can. That's good business. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? If I can get the city to put that development cost onto the taxpayers, why wouldn't I
I
do
got
it?
to take home more.
Why I got to take on? Why wouldn't I do that? Right?
Yeah.
If I was so don't go blaming the developers.
Every industry has lobbyists up on the Hill, and they're all fighting for a piece of the pie. That's really what it is.
And it's up to the legislators to say no, and they're not saying no to PIDs.
Yeah.
That's all went through on Stuart Adams' not watch. And then MIDA is the worst thing to happen. I mean, how do you get a carve out to where the county gets none of the tax base? I mean, you're there, the Morgan County thing, when Tina Cannon got up there and says, MIDA's a problem. How did that policy even get enacted? Because even this whole thing up at Box Elder County with the big data center, we specifically said in that podcast that the local taxpayers, the local community, the county, they should be getting some kind of a benefit from the data center. Again, this blew up in our podcast that I was for data centers. I am completely for data centers. I'm going to state that again. I'm all for data centers. And we're going to talk about O'Leary here in a second and what Stuart Adams is doing with the data centers.
Yeah.
The problem with the data centers is not the data center itself. There's no transparency in how they're doing it. Why? Because it's MIDA. MIDA does not have to be transparent.
They're not elected.
They're not elected. They're appointed.
Yep.
And they pull the benefit from the local county. They don't give to the local county.
Yep.
So that entire tax base, all those benefits, all that money goes to MIDA and not to the local taxpayers, not to the local county, not to the improvements, not to the snowplow removal, not to the other stuff that benefits the county, right? None of that goes to benefits the county. MIDA gets to go spend the money however they want to. And it's just another government bureaucracy thing where it's another tax on the people is what MIDA is.
That's in defense of Hill Air Force Base, because people in Davis County care deeply about keeping Hill Air Force Base there. So, of course, he's going to tie it to that instead of it being the project individually.
Hill Air Force Base and MIDA should be completely separate, and MIDA should just go cease to exist. I mean, it should be the county. That's why we have commissioners. That's why we have county representatives.
Elected representatives, not appointed. It's the boards that are appointed that I think are the mess. If MIDA, even then I wouldn't support it. But let me just say again, I think counties and cities are the only political subdivisions that should exist in the city of Utah. We don't need all these other entities that have these particular individual jobs, because what ended up happening is the industries, the companies that care about that particular commission or board, they get who they want appointed to the board, and then the complete original intent of that program or that entity changes, and it expands in scope. And then what do we get? We get what we've got on the federal government level, where everything is just completely bloated.
And those counties,
deep state.
Those counties' leaderships should be involving their bosses, the people, in the process, gathering information, getting it to the public so it can be discussed and decided upon by the people.
Exactly. Yep.
I feel sorry for the Box Elder commissioners because they're getting yelled at, screamed at, cussed at.
Push back, yeah.
And they don't have any of the information. Why? Because MIDA's not giving it to them. MIDA doesn't have to give it to them. That's the problem. Is there's a wall between MIDA and the county, and MIDA doesn't have to tell them anything.
Yeah, no, MIDA's in charge. So
MIDA's in charge.
Yeah.
And they're taking the money. They're in charge. They can do whatever they want to do. And the people, guys can go yell at the county commissioners all you want. It's not going to solve the problem. The problem is at the state level. It's the good old boy network like Stuart Adams, Governor Cox, that put MIDA in there in the first place. And not only put MIDA in there in the first place, but gave them these boundaries that supersede everything.
I appreciate the fact as well, when we've had events with other candidates for county races, for instance, you've said, yes, these county races matter and you should vote for the right candidate in them. But you've told people, hey, this Senate race, these House races are the most important in the state of Utah, because people understand this. When it comes to the state constitution, cities and counties, MIDA, are all political subdivisions of the state. The state has ultimate control over what happens with every city, every county. They could pass a bill up on the Hill that forces counties to act in a certain way. It's not the same way with the federal government. The federal government, technically speaking, in the U.S. Constitution, is not allowed to tell states what to do. We've allowed them to do that over time, but technically speaking, they're not supposed to. Whereas with the state, they can and they do. It's in the Constitution. So the Senate races and the House races are the most important right now, in my opinion. Counties still important, vote for the right people, but states it's so
Well, if you want water disclosure, how much these data centers are going to be using, you want power disclosure, you have to change MIDA. Because right now they do not have to disclose any of that, which is why it went back to the House or to the state, and why Stuart Adams just released his letter to Kevin O'Leary. And it wasn't the county commissioners. I mean, you don't see the county commissioners writing a letter to O'Leary or anything else like that. You don't see them trying to investigate it. Why? Because MIDA supersedes the county. The county has no authority, no power, none. So then we go to this letter that
Stuart
Adams just put out there, wanting O'Leary and his group to reduce the size of the data center by 75%.
Yeah.
And we all know that is never, ever, ever going to happen. They're not going to reduce it by that much.
Yeah.
But it makes great media for him, for Stuart Adams in an election year.
Yes.
Right? Which is the only reason why I put that letter out there, is to say, oh, I'm against data centers. I'm for the people now.
Yeah. Well, it's
It's
interesting.
lip service.
It tells
because
you
he put MIDA in place. Lip service because he put MIDA in place. He gave them the
he's
power.
on the board.
Which is why O'Leary's so mad, is
Yeah.
because you gave us the powers, you gave us ability. Now you're pulling it back.
Yeah. Well, that tells you where he's at politically now, because his initial stance is let's support the data center, right? But then he's calling for the reduction of 75%, and Stephanie's saying too little, too late. So we know where she stands. She loves government control. She wants to stop any development whatsoever. Stuart says initially let's support development, but then let's reduce it by 75% because I'm getting this political backlash. And I'm the free market guy. I'm the true limited government conservative who thinks, you know what, these big developments should not be negatively impacting our citizenry. We shouldn't be subsidizing it through lower natural gas prices, lower water pricing for these huge data centers. But we also shouldn't be stopping these developments all because it's big, it's scary, and people are...
No, we say the federal government shouldn't have a say-so in this, but isn't it my understanding that Trump had said data centers great, but they have to enrich the area that they're going to be in. So if they're going to provide their own power, they should be giving the excess of the power to the people. If they're using the water, they need to make, you should be benefiting from that. Is that not what's supposed to happen?
Well, I mean, the federal government has usurped a lot of power over so many different aspects of government that really are supposed to remain with the state or local governments.
Right.
So the EPA has usurped a lot of power in this arena. And yes, Trump is trying to get a lot of that power back to the states. But when it comes to these issues, because we've allowed the federal government to have these powers, he's going to take a stance on it. And that's where he's...
Because I was hoping to hear, they keep talking and arguing on the internet, but they're still not getting the information to the public. And I'm looking forward to hearing them say, yes, and we're going to provide our own power. We're going to make our own plant, and we're going to give excess of it we're going to lower your power bill.
I was at a meeting run by Jen Brown. I don't know if you know her at all.
Uh-huh.
But Representative, anyway, he's an electrical engineer, very, very good guy. But he was saying that the water that's going to be used, it takes less water from the lake than the original use, which is farming.
Right.
So people are very concerned about the water. If you're that concerned, you'd be happy with the data centers going in because it's taking less water.
Because we've asked in the past year leading up to this, we have asked many lawmaker who comes what they know about it, and we've been told by some in the know that it does use much less water than they're like, that's the old technology, and it recycles it. It uses it and it spits it back out.
Yeah.
It doesn't retain
Closed system. Yeah.
the water.
It's Colin Jack.
So Colin Jack is going to be here.
Awesome.
In the week after the primary.
Yeah, he's been.
And I
talking about this
specifically
for
talked to him about
years.
because he runs the energy committee in the House.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
He's an energy guy.
He's an expert in the field. Yeah.
And he's an expert in data centers, which is why I grabbed him. So he's coming up to answer a lot of these very questions. But he's saying the same thing.
Tune in. He's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming
But
to say the same thing.
why are we talking about this, and why isn't O'Leary saying something on these responses? Why isn't Stuart Adams? Why aren't they trying to sell the data center with facts?
It's political convenience.
Yeah.
Stuart Adams is facing the first primary election challenge that he's had, in my opinion, since the very beginning. I think he's had one, maybe two, not so serious candidates that are running against him. he's worried because he wants probably one more term in office. He's got a couple more projects he wants to finish up. I don't know what they are, but he's not told anybody when he's done. But he's worried because this is his first serious challenge.
The size of the data center shouldn't bother anybody. Who cares if it's 40,000 acres? I mean,
and it's private land, isn't it?
Private land. They're buying the land. It's not. Who cares? I mean, they could build a massive thing out there. The second thing that people are complaining about is it's going to produce so much heat that it's going to affect the environment. That's such a big bowl of crap. I can't even believe it. It's not going to produce enough heat to cause any type of global warming type of effect in Box Elder County. And people who think that, and there's thousands of them that do, because it's all over the internet right now, that think that it's going to produce enough heat that it's going to raise the entire temperature of the entire Box Elder Valley by a couple of degrees. I'm like, nah, it's not going to happen. You can't produce enough heat to be able to make that happen. So that's...
Even if that were the case, though, there's technology to be able to capture the heat and send
Let's
it
get
elsewhere.
Mythbusters on that one and bust that myth, okay?
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
The other two things is the water. And like you're just saying, supposedly, they're supposed to be using less water in the data center than that the fields were using to grow the grain out there. But again, disclosure and transparency has been a massive problem because they're not disclosing what water users are doing. O'Leary even talks about it. He says, look, we have new technology that's going to cool them that doesn't consist of water. They still will have some water use, but not near as much in normal data centers. But again, MIDA does not have to disclose that, and they've chosen not to. Why? Because they don't have to. No one can force them to do so.
Yes.
And then the next thing is power. And the biggest thing with power is one entity consumes more power, the power company tends to fan that increase and
Across
distribute
society.
it amongst society.
Yep.
And then that's a discussion you're going to have with the power company. Say, you can't do that. And we should have a law say, no, whatever they consume, they pay for.
Yeah.
And
It should be proportional, right?
And
These are scarce resources. If we price them correctly, which I'd love to see less government mandated pricing and more private industry.
the government
But when we've got
mandates-
monopolies, it's not a free market. But correct pricing would fix that because you'd make decisions on your own. Oh, okay, electricity
and this is where
costs
government's going to
X.
have to tell the power, because the power company is regulated by the government.
Yes.
And so the government's going to have to go and tell them, okay, on this instance, this is how you want to do it. But I don't even think they should be even plugging into the local power grid. I think they should fly another mini nuclear power plant, just like they did in southern Utah. They did it on the C-130s, put it up there, have their own little mini nuclear power plant and have that power it. And then, like you were saying, put the excess into the community and bring down the power prices of the community. That's the way you can
interesting.
benefit.
That makes sense.
And then the other part of that, and O'Leary's going to talk about this, is every local company out there, every local business, they're going to be using those data centers to house their websites, to house their AI technology.
We need data centers.
It isn't some
where we're
government
living.
entity doing this. It's every local business out there. You're going to be housing your stuff on those things. So
Yeah.
there should be some kind of a tax base for everybody housing their website, their AI in that data center that goes and benefits the county. But again, that tax base, that profit margin is going to go to MIDA and not to the county. The county's not going to see a dime of it. Which again, MIDA was created by
State legislature.
state legislature, the good old boy network, and
Yeah.
that was done. So when he's talking about he's saving Hill Air Force Base and all this kind of stuff, MIDA is going to be the biggest tax increase to the state and to all these local people. Why? Because they're taking the taxes that could have gone to the county and not, and it's theft is what it is.
And if you don't like it, what are you going to do? You have to unelect the Senate President who appoints members of the board, right? So it's indirect change. If we have a taxing entity, it has to be direct representation, direct election, not appointment at all.
Yeah.
You think it's purely political because he's got an election coming up on
Well,
June
what
23rd.
else could it be? What else could it be? Why would you do this to your partner? Why would you screw your partner like this? Why would you
Well,
do
if we take him at his word, he's trying to protect the resources, the natural resources, and the environment and the area of Box Elder County that he's also heard the same pushback.
And so am I. And remember, we have to have a tenant. Any of the large tenants. I don't care which one you talk to. They are in the same boat. Their customers are in Box Elder County. Every time you use your phone, you're using one of the hyperscalers technology. Every time you send an email, every time you use your spreadsheet, they don't want to anger their customers. Nobody wants to build a data center that destroys the environment. Nobody starts with that premise. And so now we're using new technology. But we're still in the letter phase, okay?
We cut into that where they're talking about the letter that Stuart Adams just sent to them saying they want to cut down the size of the data center by 75%. All that's going to do is just hurt the local community, hurt local businesses, right? Because just like what they were saying, a data center, all it is a glorified warehouse. It's a server farm where people are renting space on servers to house their websites, their AI. That's what a data center is. It's a glorified warehouse.
Yeah.
Right? We spoke about this with FIA. There's dozens of data centers down the South Jordan, Riverton areas. Amazon's got their AWS massive data center down there in South Jordan. Family Search and all these other big enterprises, the LDS Church, they all house their entire websites, everything on
You know, a lot of the
Amazon-
people in the uproar, they don't even know. They know like maybe the 5 major ones or something, or a handful. They have no idea. We already have data centers.
It's
This
like
is
17,
not
I
anything
can't
new.
remember how many.
I've heard in the 20s.
Everybody houses their stuff on AWS, Amazon Web Services. I mean, everybody knows who AWS is. And one of their biggest data centers is in the middle of Salt Lake Valley.
Yeah.
And no one's saying anything about it, right?
No, it's just the size, and it's the amount of media attention on this one.
It's the media attention they've heard, so there's some bandwagon to jump on, and I want to be on it.
Where were they when the other data centers were created?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. So in my opinion, if you're taking a problem as that's how people are viewing this. Some people, like now President Adams, you take a huge problem and you reduce it by 75%. That's still 25% of a huge problem. Is that a real solution? No. If you think it's a problem, you need to actually address the problem head on, not just reduce the size of the problem. So
And the size of the data center is not the problem.
no, I agree.
That's not what the people
I don't
were
know why he
concerned
even set
about.
that letter
Address
out there,
their
'cause he
concerns.
doesn't make any sense.
He's going to piss
Yeah.
off investors. He's going to piss off these developers. He's
He's catering.
I'm not
to
saying,
the
oh, Larry's a great
environmentalists,
guy.
but reducing it 75% is not going to make them happy
the
either.
problem is there's no transparency. MIDA is 90% of the problem because they don't have to be transparent. There's no disclosure on the water usage, and no one's forcing them to create their own power, to make their own nuclear power plant, whatever they have to do up there to charge this thing.
Yeah.
Why? Because MIDA's the problem. They don't have to tell anybody. They can do whatever they want.
Yep. You know, when it comes to data centers, I wouldn't want it in my own backyard. I don't think it's a great thing to look at or anything. But you go out there, there's nothing out there. That's a great location for this. And we need these data centers. I think if these businesses can thrive and survive on their own, not depend on society for subsidizing their costs, let it happen. As long as it's not harming people around them through measurable means, let it happen. I'm a free market guy. I think the government needs to get out of industries, not mandate and regulate to an oblivion.
Which everybody should be looking at MIDA. Again, that's where government stepping in and getting in the middle of this whole thing and causing the problem.
Yes.
The reason why all those people showed up to the county commissioner's seat is because they have no information on the water usage, no information on the power, no information on anything like that. Yelling at the commissioners because the commissioners are supposedly not disclosing anything. When they can't, they don't have any information.
Which they should have said.
Yeah.
They've been cut out, right? And why does MIDA exist? Why do we have this loophole government entity in the state of Utah?
Well, it was created at the beginning to help protect Hill Air Force Base. That's why he's drawing that conclusion, President Adams. Again, you create a program where you create an entity. Only the people that have an invested interest in the scope of that entity care about who gets appointed to that board, and then it blows.
So how is it supposed to protect Hill Air Force Base?
So there were interests. I'm no expert in this.
Okay.
This is just from what I've read. There were interests that county and city governments could not adequately represent the federal government. And Hill Air Force Base was being threatened when there were a whole bunch of reductions in the numbers of military bases. So they created an entity to go and lobby.
But that
the
was like
federal
10,
government.
15 years
A long
ago,
time.
wasn't it?
Yeah. So these entities stuck around because we want to protect Hill Air Force Base, right? And so they just expand in scope. It's no longer just Hill Air Force Base. It's projects even vaguely related to military.
Well, not even vaguely related to it. One of the MIDA projects is the ski resort.
Yeah.
It's a ski resort.
Mountain ski resort.
Why? How are we letting these entities get this bloated?
Yeah. That's what I'm telling you.
MIDA was created for Hill Air Force Base. Hill Air Force Base it is, right? And that's a very finite set of areas. How are they getting into data centers? How are they getting into ski resorts? There's another recreational resort down in Utah County they're in charge of.
Yep.
They're trying to take over a lot of the sites out in Eagle Mountain now because they've got data centers going out there. MIDA wants to get involved to those ones. Why? Because it's money.
Yep.
None of that money goes to the county. None of that money goes anywhere. And they're sticking their nose everywhere because it's, again, non-elected officials. Officials again can officially fill their own pockets full with the benefits that they're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And no one can say anything. Why? Because how MIDA was put together, they are below the state but above any counties and cities.
Yep.
So,
Do you foresee any path where MIDA would be dissolved?
I mean, it starts with shaking up the leadership in the Senate. That's one of the things I'm wanting to do, is you got to get enough power where you control the leadership in that particular chamber, and then the ideas actually see the light of day. I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to get passed, because it's a feat. Every piece of legislation that's controversial is a feat, but at least we can have the conversation, and it starts with electing somebody new.
how did they get involved with ski resorts? I mean,
I don't know.
They own all the land up there. What is it? The Alta expansion, I think it was.
I don't know.
I don't know which one it was. It was one of those the expansions that the Alta or one of those ski resorts or Snowbird. I think it was that Cottonwood Canyon ski resorts.
Okay.
Where they were trying to expand. They're trying to go to the Alpine side, and they're trying to do all this other stuff, and they weren't being allowed to do it by the counties or the cities. And so, guess what? If you put it into MIDA, it supersedes the county.
Yep.
All of a sudden, the ski resorts it's not private anymore. Now the ski resorts can buy the land, build on it without any special interest, without any environmentalist say, without any county say.
Yep.
And I think that's why they did it, is because the ski resorts were trying to expand. They couldn't get anywhere with the city, the county, or the environmentalists. You stick a whole chunk of land in MIDA, though,
You just
bypass, you circumvent everybody. And so now that deal's going through, and no one can say anything about it.
Yep.
So it's not just the
That's
data
government
centers.
for you. Yeah.
Not just the data centers that it's affecting. It's a circumvention tool. It is.
It is. Absolutely.
And not only that, but all the tax benefit that would have gone to the counties from those ski resorts, guess what MIDA gets to keep now?
That difference.
All of that money. It's not going to the counties. It's not going to the cities. It's not going to the local residents.
And and it's the same thing with PIDs, HTRZs, all these entities. It's money that should be going to the county. It's not. So what's going to happen? The county says, "Oh, we've got these expenses that we need to pay. Let's raise everybody's taxes by 30%."
Yeah.
Of course, they're not getting their bills paid. It's because it's the difference that's supposed to be going to the county is not.
Yep. MIDA's taking it all.
Yep.
And half the people out there don't even know that, and probably won't even listen to this full podcast. You'll probably just listen to our shorts and start yelling at us because of our shorts, and not get to the podcast and listen to the full story and hear what we're talking about. And that's what happened last time. They started yelling at us about us supporting the data centers. I'm like, did you watch the whole podcast?
Yeah.
Did you see anything that we talked about? And they're like, no. One of them, and I have to give kudos to the person that did, literally apologized to us. He said, sorry, I got out of hand. It's right in our comments section. You know who you are. If you're listening, bravo to you for us ironing that out. There was some messages that went back and forth, and in the end, they apologized for kind of getting on my case. Kudos for you. But again, the shorts are designed for people to go watch the full podcast, so go watch it. Don't just take us out of context.
Yep. And let me be clear. When it comes to the data centers, my opinion is we have standards in place. As long as these businesses meet those standards, we should allow them to come to fruition. It's not the government's job to pick winners or losers. The government should remain neutral and apply the law equally, no matter the size of the development, no matter how unfamiliar it is. We should apply the law neutrally.
and it should benefit the locals. We shouldn't be given favoritism, right?
No.
It's not the government job to pick winners and losers.
Yep.
That's why we have an economy. That's why we have capitalism.
Yes. Consumers pay.
Consumers pay, and if your business is going to fail, it's going to fail. If it's going to grow, it's going to grow. So
Yep.
I don't know why government got into picking winners and losers. Let's go on to some more fun stuff. So
I've had fun so far.
this is fun.
This is all fun stuff.
This is actually funny stuff, not just fun. This is actually funny.
Okay.
So everybody out there knows what's going on with Spencer Pratt and Bass out there in L.A.
Yeah.
It's the whole David versus Goliath thing. And I'm bringing this up because obviously we got a delayed David and Goliath election going on between Braden Hess and Stuart Adams. So in no way am I comparing Stuart Adams to Karen Bass. So I'm going to get that out the way.
You're not the same person.
They're not the same person. Stuart Adams is 10 times the person as Karen Bass.
He uses he, him pronouns, and she uses she, her, so.
I'm just comparing the David versus Goliath type of comparison, thinking that he should take some of those pointers from what he's doing out there,
It's awesome what he's doing.
what Spencer Pratt is doing out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen his commercials, right? I mean, we'll look at a couple of them here.
He reposted an AI video.
I think it's a very dangerous trend.
I mean, I was kind of freaked out.
150% fiction. His social media is now taking on a violent turn.
Okay, Karen, you want no violence? That's
Doozy of a dookie, crap on the sidewalk, pinch and a low. Doozy of a dookie, crap on the sidewalk, pinch and a low. Just a wave of my stick to finish the trick. Crappy poopity poo.
So good.
These things are hilarious. I don't think everybody's seen them, but you have to look them up. There's tons of them out there.
Fantastic.
They're
So
hilarious. We can show, maybe we can show like one more here.
Hi, I'm Spencer Pratt,
So good.
and I'm running for LA mayor. When I'm elected, I'm gonna fix this city. No more needles, no more fraud, no more corruption, no more bugs. Most of all, no more poop.
Teeth.
So elect me, and Los Angeles will be overflowing with common sense. Karen swore she'd clean up LA, but that was a lie. She was gonna end tents and homelessness, but that was a lie. I stepped in human feces, and you know why? Because of her lies. Because of her lies. Because of her lies. She promised clean and safe for parks, but yeah, that's a lie. LA's worst Senate's ever been, and that's not a lie. She burned down the Palisades, and you know why? Because of her lies. Because of her lies. Because of her lies.
So good.
She said LA's making.
So we won't watch the whole thing, but you guys
So
get the
good.
point. They're just hilarious. There's the Batman one. There's the Star Wars one where he's a Jedi and they're all Sith Lords, and he's like, he's got the lightsabers going on. If you haven't seen the Star Wars one, that's hilarious. But I'm just saying that Braden Hess over here needs to come up with a viral
I do.
AI video.
Yes.
It would be
Yes.
It would be hilarious.
Copycat this guy. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Hilarious. And it's doing a lot of good for him because if you look at the results here, we'll see this for a second here.
Here's Josh.
Yeah, let's start with the mayor's race. I spoke to LA County Registrar Dean Logan earlier today. He said this was going to be a bigger ballot drop than yesterday. So far, about 30,000 in the mayor's race, really helping Karen Bass, but really not that much.
In LA.
Right now, our vote total is currently at 557.
So if you're looking at this, whoops, let's keep right there. So she's got 35% of the vote. He's got 29. So Ramon, Miller, and Wang are all going to drop off, and Pratt and Bash are going to go to a runoff election in November. But the biggest thing that most people are commenting about is LA's got a serious problem counting votes. And he literally mentioned right there the next ballot dump because they count in sections.
Yeah.
And they always say that the later ballots coming in are always Democrat heavy, and the Republicans tend to vote
Yeah. Conveniently.
conveniently. But what most everybody is saying is that's how they're skewing the elections because they have these huge Literally, they're not kidding when they say ballot dumps. They have these big ballot dumps.
Yeah.
And in fact, in one area that, and I could pull it up, there was one city or one voting district came in where 100% of the ballots were for Karen Bass.
That's impossible. Statistically impossible.
And that's what everybody is saying out there. That is statistically impossible to have that. How did an entire thing, so that you know already, right out the gate, they haven't even counted all the votes yet, there's already voter fraud.
Yeah.
Because 100% in every single one of them. That's statistically impossible not to have a single vote for anybody else. Not for Pratt, Raymond, Miller, Wayne, nobody. It was all Bass votes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they thought they weren't going to get caught. And they're thinking there's going to be a lot more of it. And they think there also is going to be happening in the gubernatorial race out there as well. But
I saw this Babylon Bee, I don't know, meme where they said California just finished counting votes and Ronald Reagan was elected as governor in 1966. I thought that was fantastic. That's California for you, though. Take forever to count the votes. I mean, that's it happens here in Utah, too. I mean, it takes a long time to get
that's why I was
results.
mentioning it, too, is because we had ballot dumps.
Yeah.
I mean, we had during the caucus elections, she's a chair, I was in there, and normally when you go to caucus, you take the vote for your delegates within the caucus, and yet every single one of the caucus rooms with big old pile of pre-filled out, pre-voted on
absentee
ballots showed up, and they were all Stuart Adams ballots. All of them.
That's the trouble. I think I didn't win because of that, and Stuart obviously knows that when there's a conventional candidate, that's how you eliminate them, because he was doing both paths, right? Signature and convention. So the way that he gets his competition out of the way is making it so they don't win in convention. But what we really need is people to show up to caucus meetings. When a candidate like Stuart Adams brings in, or his supporters bring in 10 or 15 absentee ballots, if we have our whole neighborhood showing up like they should, it's very difficult to dilute the vote. So
Yeah, but there are members in my neighborhood who go, why bother? Why am I going to show up? It's all rigged anyway.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, because we've had so many efforts to repeal SB 54, which I support, I don't think that's the politically feasible way of moving forward. We need to actually make the caucus convention system more competitive. For instance, Stuart Adams can go and steal delegates from me to make it so I can't get on the primary ballot, but I can't go knocking doors for all the people who signed his candidate packet and have them remove signatures. It's just that the way state statute works is they make the timing impossible. I don't know about them until after the time has already expired. So I can't steal his voters away, but he can steal my delegates away. We need to make it so it's competitive. If he can steal, I should be able to steal. I would also love to see it even where you have to pick one or the other. You can't pick both. You either gather signatures or you go to convention. You can't do both because too many of these signature gatherers are getting notoriety from both. They're talking with people, but then they're also gaming the delegate system.
Well, and we had a lot of people questioning those absentee ballots.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the handwriting was all identical.
Okay.
Even in ours was all identical. And then because they were certified by the front office, according to the precinct chairs, they couldn't do anything about it, right? He says, I can't, it's out of my purview, it's out of my power. If it shows up at our desk, then it's been certified. We have to count them, right? Well, it was obvious that a lot of the signatures were identical, and they were, again, signing for other people.
Well, and county leadership was reiterating that the purpose of the absentee ballots was supposed to be for somebody who couldn't make it, otherwise they were going to vote, could send in their ballot. It wasn't meant for you to go door to door collecting signatures for a caucus meeting.
Yep.
But that was what Stuart held a meeting. He held a training meeting where he invited all the delegates. I was invited. Didn't go, but I heard exactly what happened in the meeting and taught them how to do that, go door to door. And then they should be filling out their ballot and handing it to you, even though you shouldn't be soliciting votes to run as a delegate. That's not the spirit of the reason of the absentee ballot in the caucus.
I think the official rule is you can take two absentee ballots that are not in your
household.
Maybe it's even in the household. I think you're only supposed to take it in the household, but there wasn't an enforcement of it.
Right. Well, because it was difficult to say.
Yeah.
And I can only speak for what happened in mine. Was I knew that when the person who brought them in with the pack, and I said, you can't do that. She immediately knew my argument and just said, oh, so-and-so, come here, and then dispersed them. And I thought, okay, it's a game. I'm not going to turn it into that. And I thought, I'm just going to rely on God. And
Well,
I think we need to do better of enforcing that rule. It can't be that somebody
absentee-
brings a stack of absentee ballots
can't
and
do that.
conveniently hands them out beforehand. No,
Well, the absentee
appropriate.
ballot is designed for our missionary force, our military force, and then for our first responders, right?
or even disabled people who can't leave their home.
Yeah,
right?
it is particularly designed for first responders that are out working, right? They can't
Expats, yeah.
you can't take the time off if you're a cop and you're out on the beat. If you're in the hospital working or something like that, it's designed for those type of people. It's not designed.
they're supposed to reach out to their precinct
And
chair
get-
and turn their vote. You don't go and
Door-
go
door-
door
door-
knock
door.
and say, hey, were you going? Because the majority of
If you're
people
not
are
going,
attending.
sign an absentee
Great. Well,
ballot.
I'm running, and I have filled this out for you. Can you just sign that?
That's the problem we're facing.
And the people who were behind that are the ones running Stuart Adams' campaign
yeah.
and Bob Stevenson's campaign.
Yeah. So attend your caucus meeting, and then it's very difficult for them to do it.
Let's go through, what do you think policy-wise are the primary bills that Stuart Adams voted for that you would have voted differently on?
Well, it goes to my priorities. Number one, previously he confirmed judges he should have never confirmed. And then he thinks the solution is let's expand the court. Expanding the court costs the taxpayers a lot of money. I think the Supreme Court judges make something over $200,000 a year. That's not cheap. And then also their staff. It's the clerks that end up writing a lot of the opinion, and then the justices go in and they edit it. All right? So it costs money, and it expanded the court all in the name of making the court more efficient. When you take a group of 5 people and you add 2 more, there's going to be more disagreement, not less. So I don't understand that logic at all. If we want to increase the horsepower of it, hire more staff, hire more clerks to help them with their writing, not hiring more Supreme Court judges.
Well, address the issue where, his argument against that is that, well, they don't have time to, you don't like how we, what was the Roe
There's
versus
too many
Wade
stuff
bill?
going to the
bills-
Supreme Court.
Yeah, like they have too much. So, that's his
I
argument
wasn't
against
necessarily
that.
against the increase in the Supreme Court because obviously the Utah population has gone way up.
Sure.
By millions since then. So we could use a couple of the extra ones up there.
But does increasing the size of the Supreme Court do anything?
I don't know. Supposedly it's supposed to help them hear more cases. But I don't think the number of Supreme Court justices is actually increasing the number of cases they're hearing, which 7 will probably help them out. I think what's stopping them from hearing cases is they don't want to hear certain things like the abortion bill and others because he's confirming leftist judges. And that's straight up what it is leftist judges in a conservative state. They don't want to rule on certain bills because they know there's going to be a lot of backlash. So why not just keep the abortion bill and other bills like that out there in limbo?
Yeah. So they changed. Well, let me get this out there as well. So before getting judicial appointees, the process started with the Judicial Commission, I think is what it's called, which are primarily made up of appointees by the Utah Bar, which is largely a Democrat organization, frankly. Not all of them, but a lot of them lean left. So they appoint 2 or 3 judges for the governor to look at. The governor's hands are kind of tied because he was given 3 Democrat judges, and he's given 2 Republican judges and 1 Democrat judge, and the Democrat is the most qualified one, and the 2 Republican ones are really not serious candidates for the job. So the governor's like, oh, shoot, I have to pick this one. My hands are tied. He sends it over to the Senate. The Senate just like rubber stamps any appointee. That's what was happening in the past. That's why we're getting stuck with Prop 4, why Judge Gibson was in place, Judge Diane Hagan, Paige Peterson, all these Democrats, really, that are on our Supreme Court. I don't think expanding the court for political purposes, bias purposes, is the right go. It's an upstream problem. It's vetting judges. So that's number one for me, that he allowed to happen under his watch. If he's going to take credit for the tax cuts, he should take credit for the bad judges that were confirmed under his watch. Number two, it's the housing crisis that we're in. So
Well, go back to judges real first. How do you fix that? 'Cause
fix the rot that we have, and then just
why are we letting the bar take the judges and hog tying the Senate and the governor to only that? Why can't they just go out and pick however they feel like it?
So there's multiple different systems, right? There's one system which is like the federal system where the president can select anybody that they want. There's another system where it's a nonpartisan election by the people. And then there's partisan elections, and then there's a system like ours where it's a third party entity that chooses the candidates.
Third party, non-elected.
Yeah, so they're appointed, okay, by the bar, by the governor. Senator Kirk Colmore changed the process, and he got some backlash from the Utah bar for it the first time he tried to run it. Then he was able to actually get support after more people understood it. But the problem is, when we finally saw the problem, it already blew up in our face with Prop 4, with abortion, with so many different issues, okay? And it all happened under President Stuart Adams' watch, okay? That's why it's such an important issue for me, not because I love judges. In fact, I don't love that part of being an attorney. It's a matter of we need to get the right people on the bench because they are interpreting the most important document in our state. So let's make sure the right people are in place. If we want to change the provision, we have to change the Constitution beyond what Kirk Colmore already did. So, and I would be all in favor of that. It's just a matter of it takes a lot of political capital. It takes a lot of money. The other way we can solve it is through the non-retention vote. And I am all favor. I would encourage any of you listening that can vote to not retain the judges that upheld Prop 4 and the abortion. Let's actually vote them out, because most people just by default vote to actually keep these judges in.
And we're hoping to have an upcoming rubrics where people can vet the judges and have that in place so you can see how all of them voted, so you can vote for the judges.
Yes.
Informative.
Yes. So that's number one for me. That's how I'd be different. Number two, going to housing, is right now our local governments they're reactionary, right? The state government is subsidizing high density housing. So these local governments are tightening their grip on land use restriction laws. And what that means is less supply, housing prices go up. In order for us to have organic growth, we need to loosen our grip on land use restrictions. I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm saying loosen our grip on it. And then at the same time, we also need to get rid of the subsidies that the state government is allowing to go on to high density housing. Let consumers, the free market, determine what type of housing people get. The reason why I think so many people are leaving is because housing costs so much, but also the housing they can't afford is a townhome. It's a condo, an apartment building. When you get married, you have a kid, you don't want to live in an apartment building or a condo. You want to live in a single family home. So they move to Texas, they move to Florida, they move to Tennessee, where they can get a yard. So let consumers decide that, not the government. And
a lot of people don't understand how bad that is, because as much as the state's trying to help low-income, or not necessarily low-income housing, but affordable housing, let's put it that way, where everything's not $500,000-$600,000 for a house for first-time home buyer and young couple, 20s, young 30s, trying to get out and buy this $500,000 house. Yeah. They don't have the income for that.
No.
And so they're relegated to condos and townhomes and stuff like that.
Or leaving. Yeah.
Or leaving. But even now the condos and townhomes are being so restricted by city councils, not anybody else, to where they can only build in certain areas. Mm-hmm. In the only areas they're allowed to build in, the land costs are so expensive.
Yeah.
And then the land cost obviously gets transferred to the condo or townhome price, which is now bloating our townhomes and our condos up to $400,000 or more for this 3-bedroom condo without a yard. I mean, that's insane. That should be a $200,000 condo so people can afford it.
Yeah, and we're imposing this on our children.
But
and then we're shocked when they leave. We're
Right.
shocked when they move out of state, and we're like, well, no, you need to stay by family. Oh, they can't afford to.
No.
They can't. So in my opinion, the solution to that is organic, natural, free market growth that consumers drive, not the state government subsidizing high-density housing or transit zones through PIDs or anything else. We need to just let the free market, let consumers decide. And so going to...
And maybe even put some restrictions on city councils to stop restricting it so much.
Yes.
It's making the land cost more.
Yes.
Their building permit fees are forcing homes to be more expensive.
Yeah.
I know some cities where their building permits fees are upwards of $30,000-$35,000 a home. That's insane.
And there's holding costs too, right? When you're a developer, if you have to go through the planning commission, the city council, depending on how many actual meetings you have to hold, it takes months and months and months. And it's not cheap to hold on to land. You're paying taxes on it. You're paying also insurance.
I was a home builder. She actually worked for me when I was a home builder. I was a home builder for a very, very long time, and I developed several subdivisions.
Yeah.
And all those costs. So I know this intimately.
Yes.
When you go out and you buy the land and you're trying to get it at a certain price per acre, so that one time you divide it down into quarter-acre lots, or hopefully it's quarter-acre lots, because a lot of them are forcing go down even smaller to these eighth-acre lots. Where you have no yard at all. Why? Because the overall land cost was so expensive that if they don't divide it down into eighth-acre lots, that each lot is so expensive people can't afford it. So on each lot is $150,000, $200,000 just for the ground, just for the dirt.
Yeah.
Because of how much the original land cost, how much the city charged the developer to even get the permits done before they even started putting the sewer water, the streets, the sidewalks, the fire hydrants, all that kind of stuff in there. They got to put all those costs in there. And then there's certain number of costs that they add on to even those improvements by cities and power companies, things like that, that the dirt itself is $100,000. Then you put all the improvements, and time you divide that amongst all the lots, it's another $60,000, $70,000. So now you got this $250,000 piece of dirt, and you can't build a $100,000 house on a $250,000 piece of land. Lenders won't let you do that. Mortgage companies won't let you do that because the land outweighs the house. And so as a builder, I was forced to make the land cost. I think most lenders require that the land cost be less than a quarter of the overall mortgage.
Okay.
And so if you have a $250,000 house that's forced to be less than a quarter of the overall mortgage, that means you have to have a $1 million home sitting on that $250,000 lot.
Yep.
And so now you have all these monstrosities being built everywhere. Why? Because the cities have made the land cost so expensive, and then the mortgage companies won't let you build a small home on an expensive lot.
Yep.
And people don't understand that dynamic. There's the lender side that's forcing you one direction, and then there's the city side that's forcing you another direction, which forces builders and developers to build monstrosities.
And then the few developers that actually can succeed in that kind of environment, they then can hire lobbyists who go on the Hill and get the bills that they want to passed. One of them that Stuart Adams championed is the first-time homebuyer program. And PIDs, yes. So Stuart Adams is very happy with himself about the first-time homebuyer program, which is only applicable for brand new homes, not existing homes. Even if it was for existing homes, I wouldn't be supportive of it. His philosophy is if these first-time homebuyers can't afford to buy a home, it's because they don't have enough money. So let's provide them a mortgage to cover closing costs and down payment. If you can't afford a home, if you can't afford the down payment and the closing costs, you probably shouldn't be buying the home, in my opinion. But it's because of the prices that they can't afford the home. It's not because these people aren't contributing to society. They're not earning income. We need to make it easier for them by increasing natural organic supply, not this artificial high-density housing near transit zones, where we're seeing, near Station Park, near Layton Parkway, these ginormous apartment complexes. So many of the units are empty because nobody wants to live in them. But that's how they're increasing the supply. And Stuart Adams is saying with this first-time homebuyer program, 3,000 families have been able to get into a home that they wouldn't have otherwise. That's Democrat logic. That's what Democrats say about food assistance. That's what they say about everything. They say, our program is successful because we have millions of people using this program.
So I get
that's not how Republicans view it.
That's total Democrat, because that's the redistribution of wealth. That's all it is.
Yes.
That's all it is. That's socialism. That's That's Democrats, and we distribute wealth like that. And the biggest problem with his plan is, okay, let's pass this whole first-time homebuyer assistance. If you're going to do that, then the money should go to the home buyer. And it's not. It's going to the developers.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of podcasts ago, I compared this to the Obamacare. So when you have Obamacare and you're getting subsidies for your premiums, that premium amount is going directly to the insurance companies, whether you're using it or not. So the government cuts these big old lump sum checks to the insurance companies, and they're getting stupid wealthy off of these things. And guess what? Their premiums aren't dropping, their costs aren't dropping. They're keeping everything the same and still getting these massive amounts of money. It's the same thing with the developers. When you give a developer $30,000, you would think that he would drop what he would have charged for that house down by $30,000, and they're not. They're keeping it the same.
Yep.
And they're just getting an extra $30,000 for free. It's free money.
Yep.
Whereas if you actually gave it to the home buyer and said, okay, we'll send this directly to the title company at your closing day, where it would actually get paid to buy down some costs.
Yeah.
If applied in that way, it's not, because.
But even then, let's go back to the fact when you create a program or you create an entity with the government, it never stays in the original lane it was designed for. It always bloats. Always bloats. So with this first-time homebuyer program, it's going to work until more and more people use the program, and then there's not going to be enough funds. They're going to tax people more to and it's
going to be more subsidies.
Yes.
It's redistribution of wealth.
Yes.
What about people who say we should rein in building until we reassess all this empty housing that's sitting
decrease
there?
supply and make it more expensive.
It's because it's artificial. I'm all for absolutely stopping the artificial growth that the state government is mandating that we force on these cities and counties. Let's actually allow people to build. For instance, I've got a half acre in Kaysville. I don't need a half acre. I'm very busy with my work, and I've got a family I'm taking care of. It's great. I love the land, but I would love to be able to sell off the back portion of my lot. But the city of Kaysville says I have 2 feet less than what is required in order to actually build a flag lot. And they said it's because they need to be able to build a private road large enough between my house and my neighbors. And I understand we need to have minimum standards, but we are in a housing crisis. We should be able to build houses where there's a half acre lot, and there are plenty of houses around me that are a quarter acre. Let's allow some development to happen naturally. As a property owner, I should be able to sell my land to somebody else and have somebody build on it.
And that's again where city councils are restricting everything.
Yes.
And they go yell at the states for not having enough low-income housing or lesser expensive housing, right?
Yes.
When the true problem is in city councils. They're so tight-fisted with any development. It's hard to get something inexpensive.
Yeah, the people are mad too because they're seeing these massive apartment complexes going up and they're not being filled with people, right? And they're like, oh, I don't want more of these apartment complexes or condominiums. I don't blame them. People don't want them. So why is the state subsidizing those buildings, and why?
That's all the cities will allow get approved, and then that's what the cities.
Well, the cities are being required to. Yeah.
Well, the cities, the state requirement is only to build lesser expensive housing, right? You have to have so many units.
Yeah.
And so the way the city solves that is by just building units, approving these condo projects. So the state's not dictating how many single family residences you have to build or how many condos or townhomes you have to build. They just say you have to build so many units.
Yeah.
And then the cities come around and say, well, we don't want to develop here. We don't want to develop over there. We don't want to develop over here. Let's just do this right here and we'll satisfy the state requirement.
Yeah.
So again, it's not the state's fault.
No.
Because I've done that before. Because I'm a developer. I did it for years, and I knew the requirements. Yeah. And it was honest 20 years ago, just as much as it is now. The problem is city councils get these requirements, but the state's not specific enough saying you have to develop flag lots and these other lots. You have to allow single family residents to get built in areas where you normally wouldn't have built them. All they're saying is you have to have so many units. And then the city turns around and says, well, there's 300 unit condo project over there someone wants to develop. That satisfies our unit problem.
Yeah, it's true. I like to tell a story about my in-laws. They bought a house in Kaysville, and behind them was great green pasture, horses grazing, and beautiful view of the mountains. And then somebody purchased land behind them, and they built a house and completely blocked their view. And they were a little bit disappointed, but that's how it works here in Davis County. It's your kids need to be able to live here. If you want them to live here, they need to be able to build houses to live in. So they sucked it up, and they continue living their lives. 5 or 8 years later, somebody had purchased land behind their neighbors and had destroyed their view. And my father-in-law heard them talking at church saying, "Oh, our view was amazing. It just got destroyed by these neighbors who built a cul-de-sac."
Do tell.
And my father-in-law goes, "Well, you destroyed our view. You know that, right?" And they had no idea. It's the mentality of, I like my city exactly how it is, exactly down to the blade of grass. So we need to control it so that Kaysville or Layton doesn't change at all. And we can do that politically, and we're currently doing that. But if you do that, expect your kids to move to Texas or Florida or Tennessee like they're already doing, because they can't afford to live here unless you let them build. And it's not just affecting young people. Let me be clear. It's affecting our seniors too. When we limit the supply, housing prices skyrocket. And what happens when they're getting a property tax bill? When your housing price goes up?
You can't afford it anymore.
You can't, because you're living on a fixed income. We raise our property taxes by 15%, and our seniors are being forced out of their home. It's affecting everyone. And yet we've got this NIMBY attitude where it's, I don't want somebody to build in my backyard. That's really what it boils down to. And I'm not saying let's pave everywhere. I'm not wanting to mandate that. I want the government to take a neutral stance. Let consumers decide what they want, not the government dictating. Local governments or state government.
Yeah, I don't know how the state fixes that, because the cities are the ones driving that, and they're driving it hard.
Yes,
every city is the same out there right now. They're just not letting inland development happening. They're not zoning high density housing out in rural areas, or only zoning it downtown where the land's more expensive. They're really pigeonholing people, and the zoning laws and all these restrictions are really, really pigeonholing developers, and it's shooting up the land cost. That land cost I was just talking about, where that land is $100,000 before they even started anything. The dirt itself was $100,000 per lot. That's the reason, is because the city's regulating it, restricting it. The state's putting these mandates out, but the city not even adhering to it. They just said, we'll satisfy it with some big development over there. People need to raise up and say, look, city councils,
they need to vote.
Stop.
Yes. You need to actually vote in local elections. Not very many people do. Vote in local elections. Get people elected that are actually willing to allow freedom. Because when you allow people their full property rights, they can then actually develop housing that people want. Not these ginormous apartment complexes that are monstrosities. It's going to be single family homes with a yard. That's what people want. So let's allow development to happen, and it starts with voting in the right kind of city councilmen, planning commissions as well.
Yep.
Beyond
dropping
that,
permitting fees, dropping building permitting fees, dropping all that. It's not an extra tax space for cities to start spending, because that's what they're doing. Is they're making hundreds of millions of dollars off of building permit costs.
Yeah.
And if they would drop that down and stop budgeting that into their budgets and spending that money, it's out of control spending by the cities too. Why these building permit costs? If you drop the regulations down, drop the building permit costs down, land costs would drop way down.
Yep.
And it's symmetrical. I got to emphasize this. If the land cost goes down, then the builders can build a smaller house that a lender will lend on. Because again, a lender will not lend on a house where the land is usually between 25% and 30%, or over 25% to 30% of the overall cost of the house.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then they won't lend on it, because they won't buy that expensive dirt. And so it forces those bigger houses, where if you bring down the regulations, you bring down the building permit fees, you drop the overall land cost, the builders can build a smaller home.
Yeah.
That's affordable.
And, if our great-grandparents had the philosophy that many of us have today, we wouldn't be living here. They were living on 10, 20-acre lots. And then their children lived on 5 to 3-acre lots. And then their children lived on half-acre lots. And now our children are asking to live on 0.2-acre lots. And we're saying, those are hideous. We don't want those. That's what city councils are doing. Yep. And we just need to allow the next generation to build what the free market is demanding.
Yep, I agree with it. Well, what are the biggest, outside of the policy, what do you think are the biggest things differentiating you between you and Stuart right now that voters really need to know about?
I mean, there's the hot button issue of MIDA and the data centers. You've obviously heard his position. We talked about it earlier. I take the stance of neutrality. It's not the government's job to pick winners or losers, to get into business and overregulate. Stuart, it was inappropriate of Stuart to send a letter requesting a 75% reduction. If they own the land, if they follow all the standards that we already have in place, they should be able to actually exist and thrive as a business. That's what makes America so great, is the ability for business owners to actually do business. Let's not prevent them if they're meeting those standards. Number two, it's the housing, right? He's creating programs, he's creating PIDs, he's creating these entities to solve the problem artificially. I, again, am the candidate of free market. I believe in you, the consumer, making the decision, not me on the hill. I don't know everything. I don't. My wife will tell you that I don't. But it's everybody being able to make individual decisions that makes the economy work, not top-down orchestration. Okay. I would say another difference between Stuart Adams and I is taxes. His stance is, let's cut income tax slowly. Let's keep Social Security tax in place. At least that's what he's saying for now, or he hasn't achieved it anyway. I want to repeal the Social Security tax for the state. I want to shift the taxes away from income and property tax and more toward a sales and use tax-based system. It incentivizes the right kind of activity. We want people to earn income, and we want them to own property. So let's stop penalizing our people for doing those wonderful things. Let's let them live the American dream. If we tax sales tax, because we're a highly consumptive society, we're actually incentivizing people to keep the money in their pockets and save for a rainy day, save for their retirement, save 4 times in need. Right now, we're not doing that. We're just spending because that's, if you hold on to it, you own property, you're getting taxed for that property. If you make lots of money through income, you're getting taxed for being industrious. So I want to shift away from that. And it's a big feat.
That's such a true point, though. We are incentivized to spend money.
Yes, we are.
Because we'll get taxed on it if we don't spend it.
I guess even now we are taxed on sales tax here in Utah. Other states that have implemented no income tax, they usually subsidize with a much higher income or much higher sales and property tax. I would rather see us just increase sales tax if we have to compensate for it. I would rather state spending to come down and not tax us. But if we have to compensate, do it with the sales tax. And I like that because it's a more moral tax, as well as we want to change the way our government works. And when people go to pay a tax, and they're being taxed in 5 different ways, right? You're being taxed in income, property, sales, use, estate tax. If we simplify that, people will see the taxes they pay every time they use their credit card. They'll get the bill and they're like, oh, ouch. Whereas right now, it's only occasionally painful. It's when you get that property valuation in the mail once a year that you're like, ouch, I'm paying how much in property taxes? But if it's shifted to sales tax, it's huge, and people will be like, wow, I'm paying a lot of tax, and they say it every time they buy something.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. One of the big bills that went to the Senate they didn't even make it to the Senate was Trevor Lee's bill on eliminating any type of incentives to illegals.
Yep.
Went through the House without a problem. Kind of watered down in the House, but
yeah,
not too much, and it just died in the Senate.
Yeah.
And that's all comes from the top. We have these incentives. I mean, Phil Lyman talks about it, that we're not a sanctuary state, but our policies are making us into a sanctuary state.
Yeah.
Again, I'm heavily LDS, but the church has a large incentive to bring illegals here because they have a big beneficial program for them, which I fully believe that they have every ability to be able to do that. Charitable organizations, church organizations should be doing as much as that as possible.
That's where it should be.
And that's where it should be, not the government. But for some reason, because the church is doing it, the government feels like they have to do it too. And so we have all these incentives where illegals are still getting driver's licenses. And with the driver's license and a utility bill, they're allowed to vote. Even though we're passing laws saying they can't do that, they're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We still have a lot of Medicare, Medicaid supplements for illegal immigrants. And that law it didn't pass. It didn't get anywhere in the Senate.
It even goes to schooling too. They come here and their kids go to school for free. They get meals. And I'm not saying let's not take care of children. What I am saying, though, it's not the government's job to take care of illegals. Yeah. It should be voluntary, charitable giving of our people, not forcing people through tax dollars.
Yeah, well, that completely died in the Senate. They didn't even see the light of day. Didn't even get out of committee in the Senate. It gets that. How would you have done that differently?
Well, I think it starts with having a good relationship with the other legislators. Sometimes bills die because you've really rocked, you've really put a wedge between you and other legislators. So it starts with getting a relationship with each of the legislators, the ones that are going to impact a bill being passed anyway. I'm not saying you have to become best friends with all the Democrats. What I'm saying, though, is to get a bill passed, you have to have friendships first, and then you can talk about policy after that, and it stays level-headed. That's where I would start. And then second, you have to be willing to, even though I wouldn't want to dilute the bill, sometimes you have to make concessions in order for good things to happen. You just have to be willing to make compromises. And I think Trevor was willing to do that in the House. He said, I don't want this to happen, but if that's what it takes to actually get this bill to the Senate, let's do it. So I think that was the right move.
Well, they did do that because in order to get it past the House, they had to have the child carve out.
Yes.
So they even if they're illegal, they had the child carve out. So that was the only way they got it passed. But it still died in the Senate.
No, but what I would do differently is, being in the Senate, that's where bills die. So Trevor doesn't have direct influence in the Senate.
No.
Whereas getting elected into the Senate, I would have direct access to talking with those senators on the floor and actually being part of that debate.
It'd be nice to have somebody actually willing to work, not just across the aisle, but in between the two legislative bodies, right?
Yeah.
Because right now they seem to be like two completely separate bodies that are not even associated, don't even mingle with each other.
Yeah.
Because they're two different age groups.
That's a big thing. Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
It's like there's no camaraderie. There's no working togetherness. There's no team between the House and the Senate. The Senate's way over here and the House is way over here, and it's like they're almost clashing. Because one, the House is way younger than the Senate, but then the House passes a lot more conservative bills, and the Senate doesn't get anything done.
Well, again, it starts with leadership. It's the committee that actually distributes which committees actually hear the bill. They have lots of power. So leadership has way more power in when bills actually succeed than people think. It's the committee that decides. For some reason, the name is escaping me right now. But the committee that first gets the bill, they decide this goes to the Natural Resources Committee. This one is going to Economic Development. Okay, they decide which bills. They can send it to a committee where they know that the chairman of that committee will not put it on the agenda, so they can kill it that way. If it gets sent to the right committee, the chairman can also say it's not going to see the light of day. I'm not going to put it on the agenda. If it does happen to get the right vote and it goes to the Senate floor, the Senate President and Senate Majority Leader also get a say on whether that bill sees the light of day and it actually gets up onto the calendar. Because they regularly, especially toward the end of the session, they're constantly shifting the order of the bills that are being heard. So because they have to prioritize bills.
At what point does a House member find out their bill's not going to get the light of day in the Senate?
It depends on where it's at in the process. So sometimes they know right away because the committee that assigns the bills, they assign it to the wrong committee.
Yeah, they already knows all.
Yeah, this is
so they can follow it through the Senate.
Yeah. So it can be stopped anywhere in the process, but lots.
So
of times.
can they notify us as constituents to this is what's going to happen? Call your senator.
Yeah, no, that does happen for sure. But because Senate leadership and House leadership too, but more the Senate, because they have so much power, sometimes it's not even publicly available. They have the conversations in the back rooms and they say, I don't like that bill. Let's X that. And then it happens. And it's not debated in public eye. It's not debated in recorded events. It's just conversations in the back room.
And no one even hears about it because everybody's saying, oh, it passed the House. It sounds good. And everybody forgets about the other house, right? And
Yeah.
all they hear about is that it passed over there, but then there's like no news about the Senate or anything happening. And it just fizzles out of the public perception and no one's talking about it anymore.
Or they'll say, let's reconvene on this bill. Let's
take
table
this up
it
next session, right?
Yeah, let's circle it. Let's talk about it later. And then it stays circled until the end of the session. So there are so many ways to kill a bill, and the public isn't made directly aware sometimes. It's just strategic.
And then the House person will try to bring it up the next session and the next session, which is why a lot of these bills take 3-4 sessions to get through.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong. This process, in some ways, it's actually really good. We want to have bad bills die. So it's good in many respects, especially at the federal level, too. When there's a horrible bill that a Democrat's trying to pass and Republicans are able to use the process to stop the bill, that's good. That's a good thing. But when it's happening on the state level with a really good bill and leadership has an overweighted say on the bill, that's not
means we need new leadership.
Yeah. And change the structure, too. It shouldn't just be leadership that decides. It should be, I believe, bills should be debated. And then if they get stopped, it's because the people, the leadership in that committee or the leadership on the floor actually.
Particularly if it got passed in the House. If it passed in the House, it passed for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the House. Way more people in the House than there are in the Senate, right?
Yeah.
So if you had that many people saying, yes, I think we should do this, the Senate should put it on the floor. It should be almost mandatory. If it passed the House, you need to put it on the floor.
Yeah.
That's a really good
That's
point.
interesting.
Because, I mean, if someone came up in the House and it died in the House, right? Or something came up in the Senate and it died in the Senate, it didn't make past that body, probably a bad bill, right?
Yeah.
But if the entire body voted on it and said yes, particularly if it was like a supermajority, like a lot of these bills were well over 60%, and they're still dying in the Senate, they're not even hearing it,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with the Senate because the other body said yes, and they overwhelmingly said yes.
Yeah. I think in the very minimum, bills should have to be put on the agenda.
Yeah. Particularly if they passed the House.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like feeling that my senator's ineffective just because he's not in leadership.
Yeah.
That I have no voice if he's not in leadership.
Yeah.
That's
So
not right.
one person in the Senate, Senate President, one person in the Senate can completely nix the entire voice of the entire House. Just kibosh the whole thing, which completely disfranchises everybody elected for those people.
Yeah.
All of them, their say is gone, right? Because one person said, no, I'm not listening to this.
Yeah. Happens all the time.
That's the definition of a dictatorship, right? Is where one person decides yes or no.
Yeah.
I'm just killing this. So if it passed the House, overwhelmingly, I think it should be a requirement the Senate has to put it on the floor.
Makes sense.
But it's not.
You should run for office then.
I'm thinking about it.
Are you?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
thinking
Do
about
it. Do it.
Thinking about it.
Yeah. No, we need people that are willing to change the structure of the system so that these good bills actually have a chance. It's ideas that need to be debated. Even if they're bad ideas, I don't think that they should succeed, but let's actually debate them and then have them die. But if leadership is able to prevent it from even being discussed by keeping it off the agenda, I don't think that's appropriate.
No, that shows me favoritism or an agenda or something private in place, or worse, some lobbyists, some special interests got them bought off and say, hey, I want you to kill that.
Yeah.
I need you to kill that. We weren't able to stop it in the House. I need you to kill it. And it dies.
Yep.
Yeah, but immigration is a big problem because there's so much outside influence on that. And I know that Stuart Adams is getting a lot of lobbyists. There's church lobbyists. There's other lobbyists trying to promote a lot of things. And he rubber stamps a lot of stuff that's going through from the lobby.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because he's not a bad person. Just he's been in office way too long.
Yep. Need a fresh perspective.
Yep.
Yep.
No, but this is why I love Braden so much, is that you are fair. You point out both sides. You don't disparage anybody, and you just tell it like it is.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think we need a lot more of not attacking individuals, but we can press and and really dissect ideas and policy stances. So Stuart Adams seems like a great person. I've interacted with him several times now. Do I agree with all of his policy stances? Definitely not. I'm running against him because of that. Do I think we need change? Absolutely. Stephanie Hollis seems like a great person. Very kind. Very
Well, you've been
intelligent.
able to point out both of their good qualities as well as the things you don't agree with.
Yeah. And but just because you're a good person morally doesn't necessarily mean that you pass good policy that benefits all of society. Great people have passed horrible legislation, especially at the federal level. So a vote for me is a vote for you having say. It's consumers, it's society, not thinking that everybody on the Hill knows best, because they don't. It's what made America so great is freedom and free market, not control by the government, not new programs that benefit people. It's the ability for you to take your skills and your initiative and actually go and get something done. So I am the conservative candidate of freedom, of less government, and better vetting of judges. That's for sure.
And we the people, right?
Yes.
It's we the people. It's bringing in that fresh perspective that puts the power back into the people. You're not taking an official from government to government. Like we said at the very beginning, we got to get back to representation, representative government, and not government representing government, because that's what's happening right now.
Agreed.
All right. Well, hopefully this helps everybody out. Ballots are out. They went out in the mail. Time you guys are listening to this, you probably have it sitting in your hand. So just make sure this is the dotted line. Make sure if you're in Davis County, make sure you got Trevor Lee on there. Make sure you got Braden Hess on there. Those are the two big.
Carrie Ann Lisenby. Phil Lyman. If you're down in Utah County, obviously Mike Kennedy. He's going to be getting in without a bat of the eye down there. But Doug Fiafia.
Yeah, a lot of those. I know Brooks Benson is up for the primary as well, so make sure Utah County Brooks Benson down there.
And if you want to follow your vote, I know that on your ballot, it's being asked whether you want to vote by mail next time or not. But in that yellow card that you'll find in your ballot, if you want to be able to follow that it was turned in and when they've received it, you can go on there and the website's on there and you can follow your ballot.
Do it.
Yeah, do it and follow the vote. Make sure they're being honest.
Yes.
Because Davis County counts all those big state elections. We already know there's a problem there. So yeah, Jonah Whitesides, we're all for you because that affects everybody statewide. Look forward to next week. We're going to have John Atkin on running for Davis County Sheriff's Office, but we're also going to have Mike Smith on, who is the sheriff down in Utah County. Both are going to be on at the same time discussing
sheriff things.
See what the crime rate is. We're going to be discussing drug violence, sex trafficking, all that kind of stuff next week throughout the entire state. See how bad it is here in the state of Utah. We had some preliminary conversation back in the convention when Mike Smith was in the booth, but we're going to talk a lot about it more next week. So again, like, subscribe, and share. Make sure you're helping us get out there. Watch the whole podcast. Don't get just the excerpts and take us out of context. Again, look down below. See the t-shirts down there. Help support the channel. Donate. And we will see everybody on the next video.